Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Trigger Mike Show on the Lapeef Network. Today is Friday, March 3rd, 2023. How y'all doing? Hope y'all had a good week, and I hope y'all ready to close it out. Today is Casual Friday on the Trigger Mike Show. Hope everybody's wearing something fly, something clean, something fresh out of the dry cleaners. If you got a clean pair of sneaks on, let me know what you're wearing in the chat. If you got a fire-ass outfit you're going to put on tonight for happy hour, put it in the chat. Let us know what you wearing, what you got on. If you got some good cologne you wearing tonight, because I need a new cologne. So if let me know what cologne you wearing tonight to the club or the happy hour. I'm a little older. I don't do the club, the late night club thing. My knees ain't built for all that no more. All right, just let me know what y'all got on, what y'all rocking on Casual Friday on the Trigger Mike Show. Thank y'all for coming out. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love, and we're going to get into this topic and do how we do here today. All right. I don't know why it got cold in Houston all of a sudden. I thought we were back rocking with the hot weather, but all of a sudden, Alexa told me it was 54 degrees this morning. And nope, not rocking with it. Had to bring out the hoodie again. But it's all good. We're going to keep it moving, keep it pushing. All right. Salute to the viewers nationwide. Where my people at? On the East Coast, New York, Philly, DMV, 757, Charlotte, North Carolina, the whole NC, Raleigh, Durham. Where my South Carolina people at? All right. Charleston, Anderson, Spartanburg. My Georgia people at ATL. What's going on? That's pretty much the only area I know is ATL. Macon, Savannah. It's nobody from Savannah, Georgia watching me. Let me stop playing. I got some Floridians in the building. Tampa, Orlando, Miami. What's up? Where have I been? Where did I stay? Pembroke Pines. I guess that's Miami anyway. Right? Fort Myers. Where that Navy base at? Pensacola. What's going on? Bring it down to the Southwest. Texas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. Where my NO, New Orleans people. What's up? What's up? Thank y'all for coming through to the Trigger Mike Show. And don't let me forget Arizona, too. Arizona been kind of popping lately. So where my Phoenix people at? Tucson. What's up? I see you. And all my West Coasters out there in LA, Washington, Oregon. Yeah, we love you too on the Trigger Mike Show. To all my international people in Canada, all right? My Canadian people, my Europeans, Africans, I appreciate y'all for coming into the show today. We got somebody from Kansas City. Brandon, I just found out there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri, and they're not even far from each other. Which one are you in? All right. Make sure. Some of you are very notorious. Oh, Chi-Town in the house. I see you. I see you. Some of you are notorious for coming through and you show your love, but you come through and you don't hit that like button. Smash that like button right now. Smash the hell out of that like button. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already to the Lapeef Network, which is the greatest network on YouTube. All right, bringing you the hot topics from real people, not just characters. We real people, real lives. We live out what we spit out. All right. So appreciate the Lapeef Network for giving us this platform. Go ahead and show your love and subscribe. Join if you can to get those channel perks. We always appreciate support on, especially on payday, in the form of super chat. But if you can't do that, what I also want you to do, I want you to share this out so other people know that you're watching the Trigger Mike Show today on Friday. And we got good topics every day. Let's not lie. We don't really miss with the topics, but today's topic, I'm not even going to monologue. Well, it might be a long one, but I'm not even going to monologue on the depth of how far we can go because this is such a good panel topic. This is a dope ass panel topic. All right. So I don't even want to monologue too much. I'm going to save most of my questions and most of the ways I was going to break it up for the panel side. All right. So let's see who I got in the chat today. My man, Rilla, Early, what's going on? SR John, how you doing? Christopher Buck, what's going on? My feelings. Happy Friday to you. Sean Melvin, what's going on? What's going on? Slim says the best channel on YouTube. I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree with that. There's another channel that's rivaling. It's called the Lapeef Experience. Who knew? Who knew? Two Lapeef Networks, best channels on YouTube. Merle Dunlap. Ooh, that's a baby boomer name right there. Merle. That's a baby boomer name right there. I don't know if you know, but you one of them boomers, whether you like it or not. My man Sean Melvin in the building. Bashua, how you doing? Oh, you want to get on this topic. You know you do. Sea Life, what's going on? Birch World, what's up? Ben Rick, what's up? MS Best, what's going on? Marcellus Davis, what's going on? Gaia, how you doing? My man Chris, Bun B concert tonight. Oh, is it the rodeo? Oh, I forgot to buy tickets to that. Chris, don't do that. It's March. For those of y'all that don't know, the Houston Rodeo is like the biggest rodeo in the world, but it must be Black Heritage Day because Bun B is performing, and that's not gonna mean a lot to a lot of people. But every time a Houston rapper performs, it's not just them; it's Bun B and friends. The people he probably gonna bring out, boy. Oh man, I got other plans tonight. How did I forget that one? Chris just ruined my whole show. I don't even want to do the show no more. Mr. C, what's going on? My man Israel says Dior. Let me take my ass to the gallery and go get some new cologne. Everybody got good suggestions. True Table, what's going on? Jay Hamilton, how you doing? The real Rob Lowe. I don't know, Rob Lowe, a white guy. I don't think this is the real one, but what's going on, my man? Good to see you. Thank you for coming into the Trigger Mike show today. My man Brandon said Kansas City. Oh well, Kansas. Or probably Missouri. Michael Jones, how you doing? John Doe, appreciate that $5 super chat. Thank you for your support, sir. CC, how you doing? All right, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Christina Collins. Oh, don't y'all making me feel. Don't tell me you going. Don't let me be the only person not enjoying the festivities. And COVID about over, right? Aren't they about to declare the whole emergency over? So I'm not even real apprehensive about getting in super huge crowds because you ain't never seen a stadium packed like you seen the Houston Rodeo. The stadium inside be packed, and then there are people outside doing the carnival rides and all that other stuff. So there's way too many people out there. So that is the biggest crowd you might ever be around in your life. So hopefully, yeah, I wouldn't be apprehensive about that. But let's move on into what we got for the show today. Oh, they say COVID's still out there, bro. That means I'm still inside, bro. My man say COVID's still out there. I'm still inside. And you right. People still catching it. You right. All right. Today's topic, I believe, is a really good one. I think this is a good topic. It's right on time because obviously this problem has been going on for a long time. But I don't know why. I feel like right now the black community is in a stage of rebellion, especially the women. It's like you were doing something and you thought you had license to do it. Now you're starting to get spanked for it. And right before you decide to change the behavior, you going on that last little streak of rebellion where it's worse than it was before you were called out on it. I think that's the phase we're at right now. That's why I feel like this conversation right here on this show today is right on time. It's right on time. Is black culture over sexualized? What do y'all think? I know I'm asking a stupid question, but what do y'all think? Is black culture over sexualized? Trigger warning. Now, I'm going to discuss some of the backstory on this, between the men and women. And I'm going to save the good stuff, about the media and all of that for the panel. This is an excellent panel discussion, and we're going to do it debate style after the opening thoughts. So let's talk about how we got here. How did we get here? You have heard me say on numerous occasions that there is no issue plaguing the Black community that cannot be traced back to fatherlessness. Not one. If you can think of one thing that plagues the Black community, such as this, that cannot be traced back to fatherlessness, let me know, because I can't find one. Daddies are so important that without the supervision of dad, without the validation of dad, it is hard for children growing up to have an understanding of their self-worth. Y'all heard me say it before. We have a lot of crises in the community, right? But the crisis I want to highlight, the crisis that I want to highlight is the self-worth crisis. We have a self-worth crisis, all of which can be traced back to fatherlessness. There's not one issue that can't be traced back to it. We have a self-worth crisis in Black culture. Everything is for show. Nothing is for substance. These girls don't know their own value. They have no idea, to be honest. They have no idea. When I say know your own value, they think some trumped up version of what they think of themselves. Like I've told you previously, they have an overinflated sense of self built on nothing, so it crumbles easily. Their sense of self is built off superficial things. Their mama tried to teach it. Some mamas did. So let's give credence to that fact. Okay, some mamas did try to teach their daughters their value and self-worth. But many couldn't model it for them, could they? And their daddy couldn't validate it. Many moms, because of the broken home, could not model their self-worth for them. They couldn't be a model for self-worth, having been damaged themselves. And not having it instilled in you, modeled for you, and then validated by your father is where we went wrong, isn't it? Y'all agree with that or what? Daddies validate that self-worth. Even the girls that grew up without a dad will tell you, I've heard at this point countless women say, I think I made it out okay, but I'd have preferred daddy been there. You know that's not a lie. There's a hole still bleeding. No matter how they present to you, it's still bleeding from daddy not validating them in certain ways. Now, how does this affect women? Now, again, trigger warning. If you're somebody who likes to live in delusion, I need you to exit the broadcast now. No hard feelings. Exit the broadcast now, because we're going all the way in. When we talk about the Black culture being oversexualized, some of you right now listening are contributing to this. Some of you just posted a pic this morning contributing to this narrative. So I don't want to hear a bunch of delusion and clap back in the chat and, oh, you said this, and I ain't trying to hear that shit today. Some of y'all turned around, gave that good turnaround picture. Hold on. Some of y'all gave that turnaround in the mirror this morning and posted it. Some of y'all contributed to this very thing this morning. Good girls want to be bad, and bad girls want to be trash. Good girls want to be bad, and bad girls want to be trash. Somebody go ahead and put a timestamp on that. I'm copywriting that shit. Bad girls never been told how low they could go. They just thought being bad was it. But if good girls want to be bad, if they want to lower themselves one level, we got to lower a level for the bad girls. Good girls want to be bad. Bad girls want to be trash. This crisis has caused the modern woman to try to blur the lines between hoes and respectable, marriageable women. They've also tried to blur the lines between what's professional and what's casual. I notice this every day on social media. I notice this every day in the corporate world. All right. The oversexualized culture affects people in every facet of life: family life, raising children, workplace culture, and especially how we dress. I took my baby girl with me to go run an errand inside of Houston. I have not taken her. I didn't even realize since we moved almost 3 years ago into the deep suburbs, had not realized I hadn't taken her to Walmart or any stores inside of Houston in years. The shit I seen in that Walmart on Bissonnette, good God. Those of you in Houston already know what I'm talking about when I said the street name. The hell was I thinking? Taking my baby girl in there. Freaking streetwalkers. That's they street. Oh, this has affected us in the way we dress. The things that I saw just trying to take my baby girl to the restroom. Had to cover her eyes. I'm not capping. I told my wife immediately, I ain't doing that no more. We coming to the white Walmart. I don't care. That's how I'll say it. Ain't nobody dressing like that in the white Walmart by our house. The hell was that? That was Bonnet Mart. That wasn't Walmart. Tights and Bonnet Mart. Craziest shit I ever seen in my life. How we dress is affected by this over-sexualized culture. Women wear tights as pants. They call it athleisure. Those are some freaking tights. Where you going, gymnastics? Y'all don't even do gymnastics. Some of y'all so overweight, you do a backflip, you're going to break your wrist. Y'all don't even do gymnastics. Tights as pants. No bras in public. High-cut bathing suits. Obscene graphics on t-shirts. See-through blouses. No bra and a see-through blouse. I can go downtown, midtown, as soon as it gets dark. And these aren't streetwalkers. These are supposed to be average, respectable women. See-through blouses. We seen my work colleague out one time down there. I had to look away while talking to her. We are colleagues. I'm not supposed to know how big your nipples are because your shirt is see-through and you ain't got no bra. Yo, this has gotten so bad that the scrubs that nurses wear and other clinical professionals, they have a sexy fit now. You're at work, like they're super form fitting, so they can accentuate your ass, your hips, and your curves and shit. This is a work outfit and sexy fit. Give me a break. Oh man, it's bad out here. Listen, we understand all women crave male attention, even lesbians. Take a moment to stew on that. I'm not going to get into it right now, but all women crave male attention, even lesbians. Think about it. We can even get to that in the discussion, in the panel discussion today. But all women crave male attention. So instead of being patient to acquire that attention through the appropriate means, women started taking shortcuts. But with those shortcuts, the bill always comes due. That's what I'm going to tell my daughter. If you think that you can take a shortcut anywhere in life, it's going to catch up to you. Never in life has it not caught up to you. The oversexualized culture confused women and made them delusional. This is why we have that word and we use it today. Modern women think that their perceived value is their actual value. Let me define that for you. Perceived value is the opinion or perspective of the customer towards something. The customer is the man. Where we got this wrong and where you got this wrong, ladies, is that you think a man's ability or propensity to jump in your DMs because of that picture you just took is representative of your actual value as a woman. You were wrong. That is your perceived value. He liked the way the ass look and the way it sit in them jeans. So he put a drop in the bucket. He put some bait in the pond and you bit it. So that whole perceived value situation screwed all your heads up. You think he likes you. The whole thing, the whole relationship that may even materialize after that is built on a lie. How could it ever turn into something substantial or real? It's built on a lie of perceived value. It won't have any equity. It won't have any reciprocity. Where my economic majors at? Where my people with good math skills or who do real estate? Am I telling lies? You cannot just go around buying things, acquiring things at the perceived value. You must learn the actual value. That is your true market value. Men have already let you know what they actually think, what they actually believe your value is. You're just not listening. Ladies, I have a question, and this is based on actual value. This doesn't require an answer. It's rhetorical. If you were willing to stop having sex with men in the dating market, what do you believe your actual value would be? If you were willing to close your legs entirely, what caliber of man do you think you would get then? Because I told y'all are notorious these days for thinking the man that will sleep with you is the man that wants to keep you. Perceived value versus actual value. Unfortunately for women in the dating market, men determine your actual value. No matter how you perceive yourself to be the subject, you are the subject. No matter how you perceive yourself, you are subject to the actual value assessment of a man. Men will determine your actual value. Remember, the market sets the rate. And of course, this is also true for men. But we aren't delusional like that. We've been getting rejected all our lives. We know our actual value. That's why when the first time a dude get money, what he go do? Go get him a gang of women he couldn't get before. We know our actual value from jump. Remember that first letter you sent? You remember that first letter? That fly ass girl you sent? Some of y'all, some of the girls, you knew she already liked you, but you try to reach for the stars. That girl turned around like, ugh, the fuck? Ugh. We've known our actual value since 4th grade. Some men just step their game up, got their line up, got their gray streak going. Your actual value can't climb out here in these streets. Don't let me tell you any different. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, though, but the way you present, the way you dress, is one of the largest contributing factors to your actual value in the eyes of men. You don't dictate that. There is no amount of Beyonce lyrics, Sierra lyrics, or SZA lyrics that can change how men view women. Don't let them boost your head up to think you're something you're not. We determine your actual value. I understand that there is a kick-ass high involved from that dopamine hit that you get from male attention. I understand that. Let's talk about IG for a second. One of the largest and most prominent mediums for this foolery that I'm talking about on this good morning, almost afternoon. IG is disgusting. IG is disgusting. It is no longer safe for work. It's been a few years now since I've been in the physical office, but I used to go to the lunchroom and open up my IG. I couldn't give 3 thumb swipes before I got to somebody whole ass cheeks out. And I know what you're thinking. Well, why are you following people with ass cheeks out? Let me explain to you why IG is no longer safe for work. The women that I follow, the ones that I went to college with, the women that I've met in my professional career, my acquaintances, and my colleagues, we all follow each other on IG. These women are doctors, lawyers, investment bankers, clinical therapists, health administrators, teachers, public health professionals, etc., city officials, all women. And all of these women, nearly all of them, participate in some type of thirst trap activity on Instagram. Fellas, only if you agree with what I said, if you have women with this type of stature in society that still be thirst trapping on Instagram, put a 1 in the chat. Couldn't believe my eyes every time I see it. I know this ain't. Why she posting that? My wife know what I'm talking about. She like, what you looking at? Hey, this is Sasha. You know her. I didn't know she was capable of this. God damn. Ladies, I want to let you in on a little secret. There is a reason your chronological database of photos and videos is called a timeline. I noticed this anyway. I can cross-reference the type of photos you post with the circumstances in your life. I can do it. In fact, I did auditing in the hospital as a administrator, okay? As a mid-level manager, rather. I did a lot of auditing. I was like, as administrator, I'm sending somebody else to do that. And one thing I've learned on that job is how to recognize patterns very easily. I can cross-reference the type of photos you post with the circumstances in your life. The longer you stay single, the more desperate you become. And because of this over-sexualized culture, you gave in and compromised your integrity and your virtuosity to post risque pictures on Instagram. That's why it's called a timeline. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. She was in a relationship then. She cooled down. Keep scrolling. She just started her career. She was real serious. Keep scrolling. She had met that dude. Oh, they were still together from college. She looking good. She respectable now. The longer you stay single, the longer we keep scrolling back up to the top, you start thirst trapping. The longer you stay single, the more desperate you become. The timeline told us the story. You don't got to try to admit it. We know what's up. How dare you, ladies? I'm offended. I don't get offended easy. I'm offended. How dare you? Because these ladies that I mentioned, these are ladies that I respect in a professional sense. Because we expect a hoe to be a hoe. But you told us you wanted to be viewed as a virtuous woman. Every time we see you talking about how you can't wait to have a husband and kids, we believed you. But yet, when we look on your Instagram, we can't tell because you didn't save any mystery of yourself for your husband. We've seen it all. There's nothing left for him. You told us that's what you wanted, the family life. You wanted the white picket fence and the big house. What did you save? Did you ever think that you should save any of this for your husband? The whole world knows what your whole ass looks like. The whole world knows how big your nipples are. Them shits look like baloney. I'm not supposed to know that. The whole world knows that you have a tattoo on your pelvic area because you like to wear a high cut bathing suit everywhere. It's ridiculous. Let me cool down. How does this affect men? Men, there's a few things I'm going to cover on this. Let me drop this link because I know y'all want to get in on this topic and talk. I think this is going to be a good opening thought session. What do y'all think? A lot of people going to have a lot to say. Ladies, y'all going to learn what men think today. And ladies, y'all going to learn what some women think too. I'm sure of it. There is a culture of over-sexualized men as well. Don't let me put this on the women. Y'all niggas just as guilty. Let me explain this to you. This phenomenon has caused men to treat women differently, and they expect sex much sooner in the dating process. Absolutely, they do. Women even report that men send pictures of their private parts to women they barely even know. Ladies only. If you ever received a prick pic from a dude, put a 1 in the chat. I'm trying to see something. Not that. God, no. I'll block you. I will block you. Don't put a picture of that. Don't send me that on Instagram. Like, look, this is what he said. I'll block you. But put a 1 in the chat. Damn, see through you, they sending you all the ones. She be like, 1. I don't know, y'all. Look, I know this is some kind of phenomenon. I've never done it. Not in my life. Anybody ever say they got a picture of my peen, they lying. And I'm going to cross-reference it and get my wife to examine and tell you it's fake. Nope, not him. Listen, that is proof that we have an over-sexualized culture. Because something as silly as sending a D-pic works. Do you not realize that I'm an analytical thinker? The only reason some men do it, no matter how disgusting it is to some women fall for that. Ladies, I'm sorry, men, if you know a woman that's smashed, because the women not going to tell the truth. If you know a woman that's smashed simply because she got a D-pic and wanted to see what that thing was like, you put a 1 in the chat. The only reason they do it is because it works. That is proof that we have an over-sexualized culture. This has caused men to prioritize sex and deprioritize commitment. Isn't that what y'all said y'all wanted? What's the point of buying the cow? What's the point? You getting the milk for free. They prioritize sex. They deprioritize commitment. If you need more proof into what I'm saying, because this just happened yesterday, if you need proof to just how desensitized men are to a sexual experience, Go watch yesterday's episode and listen to Fatty describe intersexual dynamics to you. Fatty ain't got no heart for y'all at all. My man is astute. My man Fatty is intelligent and articulate. And he boiled women down to basically saying bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. A man that articulate doesn't even think women are anything but a flea on his finger. So if you need proof to just how desensitized men are, go watch that episode. I'm going to say this before I bring these men up because this is the point that I really want to make on the men and how you participate in the oversexualized culture. I don't think a lot of people will be able to guess this one. This has caused a culture of simps. The oversexualized culture has caused a culture of simps. For the ladies who are like, well, what does that got to do with me? It has everything to do with you. It affects you the most. You suffer from this problem the most. These men are lying to you. These simps are lying to you. They fake agree with you to keep you amenable for their sexual desires. Absolutely. Honest Citizen said, simpidemic. Because sex is so available, because it's so prevalent, they will do and say anything you want to keep you bending over and on your back. These men don't agree with you. It's against their nature. So they're just simping. So you let them hit it raw. So you let them get that ass again. They don't agree with your ass. It has caused an entire culture of simps. Let's get this panel going. My brothers is up here. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, Trigger Mike?
All right, we're going to get opening
What's
thoughts
up,
on this
Trigger
topic.
Mike? Salute to the panel. Salute, G. Salute, King. What's going on, man? How y'all doing?
Indeed, indeed. What's up? What's up? Let's go with King Spark first, man. What are your opening thoughts on this topic?
Well, Trigger Mike, first of all, I can't let you blame this on the blacks. Okay. This is a country where sex sells. Okay. There's nudity in most American movies. Okay. We got ring girls walking around in bikinis where there's no water, nowhere to be found. We have a whole community that's based on who you have sex with. All right. We got adult bookstores, alternative sex clubs. You can't even buy a pack of bubble gum without seeing penis enlargement pills. Okay. So it's America that's over sexualized, not the blacks.
You ain't serious, right? Look, is anything the fault of the people that are doing it? God damn, like, come on, son. But
Nah,
anyway,
actually, most most definitely, but I think it is like I said, it's the it's America, man. It's like how could black people get away from it if the dominant society in America is pushing sex, 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 sex? I mean, white girls are twerking now. Like Miley Cyrus then turned into something else. You got Sam Smith videos, something else. Like it's just I just can't put it on black people. I think America has a problem. It kind of freaks.
well, I think like communities in general kind of debunk that statement. So you have entire communities that shelter their daughters, homeschool their kids, don't watch TV, regulate programming. You can look with technology, you can do whatever you want. The question is, do you want to? Do fathers have access to do that for their children? Do mothers care enough to say, my daughter's not going to watch this, or she shouldn't be listening to this, or we're going to spend 1 hour a night counteracting what she learned in school, or I'm going to make sure I redirect that bad word, and I'm going to tell her father. We got plenty of ways to do this. But like I said, there's no issue that cannot be traced back to fatherlessness. That's square one. I ain't gonna blame America. If America is to be blamed, it's probably sixth in line on my list.
All right, well, dig these blues, right? We just talked about this yesterday about college campuses, right? Who were the freakiest girls on the college campuses?
All of them.
That's true. But
A
more
L L
importantly,
O E M. All
But
of them.
more importantly, it was the most sheltered girls. The girls that came. I'm gonna tell you, my girlfriend in college, she didn't even couldn't even watch rated R movies until she turned 18, right? But those girls, when they got to college, the ones that you just said, the shelter and censor them and all that stuff, they were the wildest girls on campus.
I hear what you're saying, man, but when you extrapolate it out, they're not those type of girls aren't responsible for continue like they don't cause as much damage as the unsheltered girls. They don't have as many babies as them, whatever. Like I get what you're saying because people say the same thing about church girls. What I think more so is that we're blown away at the fact that these girls are behaving maybe in a way we thought they wouldn't behave. So we kind of overrepresent how wild they are. Like, trust me, I know some wild ones. Don't I've turned a few out myself, but in comparison to the girls that's down for the get down, I just think the girls that are maladjusted tend to outlast the good girls, right? So good girls are wild for a time. Then they got to get their shit together because they got to go back home. They got to play the game. They got to present the husband to the parents. They got to do all that. You know what I'm saying? While the maladjusted girls still wilding, still
You
wilding.
right.
So
You
I
right.
think they
You right.
outlast them that way. It's just more like it's the same thing with church girls. I hate when people say church girls are freaks. Yes, some of them are freaks, but we're just overrepresenting it because we feel like it's something they shouldn't be doing. They're not more freaks than the hood girls, not in my estimation. The hood girls were spinning around on that thing. But I
Mike,
digress. I digress. We can get into it. Is
we
what
gonna
it
get
is.
into it today. This what we go.
We
We
gonna get into it.
go. I'm gonna leave some of this because we ain't gonna be able to get started. Go ahead. Go
Hey yo,
ahead.
I don't. So this is the thing. I don't know about all that, Trigger Mike. Usually I agree with you, but I don't know about all that. King Spark as usually has some very good points that he's making. But let me say this. Do you mind if I plug my show? Listen. Later on tonight, right? You know, Trigger Mike does a wonderful, excellent job about promoting, you know what I'm saying, marriage and everything like that. What we would like to do over at the Toxic Avengers Network is we would like to just get back to the point where we can converse with one another and we can have a good time. So tonight, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Toxic Avengers Network, we are going to have a great time. It's going to be some great vibes and a good time. Ladies, we want you to cam up, and come up and just talk and say what y'all want to say. It's going to be real light. It's going to be real fun. It's not going to be no judgment. It's not going to be no blaming or explaining or trying to tell y'all nothing. We just want y'all to be able to cam up and glam up, to rise and shine. You know what I'm saying? And fellas, so we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. So fellas, you're going to have the opportunity to vote and with your paper and say which ladies you like, which ladies you don't like, and that's gonna be that. But as far as the host or anybody telling y'all ladies anything or trying to explain anything to y'all, it's not gonna be like that. Y'all gonna get to come up and just speak your piece, and it's gonna be a good time. So I want to
That's
say
pretty
that
dope.
first.
That
Yeah, no
voting thing.
doubt. You know what I'm saying? Because that's different. Because a lot of times it's as many dudes as many girls, but most of the time nowadays too many times we trying to tell these ladies what they want, how they feel, what they need, what they don't need. Like, yo, we got to get back to the point where we could just have a conversation, Trigger Mike. I think a conversation, like to get back to the point where we at least enjoy each other's company for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what it boils down to. We have got past the point where we really enjoy feminine company and masculine company together. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
And
yeah.
we just
Oh yeah.
got to learn how to just relax and chill and have fun again. You know what I'm saying? Get back to a point where we just have a fun and ain't nobody trying to hit on nobody, ain't nobody trying to get nothing from nobody, but we just chilling and having a good time. And that's what we about later on tonight.
Man,
But
if you don't stop with this Super Bowl commercial,
hey yo, Passe Blanc, man. Let me do me, man. Let me do me, G. Hey, listen, but this is the thing, right? So to the point, yo, I agree a lot with King Spark. It's not just that's black people, and it's not just that black people are over sexualized. It's not just as women over sexualized or men. It's the society altogether. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I have to say about that.
So you blaming America too?
I mean, I can't blame. I mean, I'm not really
You
blaming
blaming
America.
America?
I'm just saying
Everybody
it's just where we live at. It's just what it is right now. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, I knew it. Look, in my loins. When I tell you, I
Auntie
predicted.
J.
I said PhD was gonna come up for this one, boy. I said it don't matter what she doing, she gonna take a break, a bathroom
Yes,
break,
sir. It's gonna be
but
the
she
man's fault
coming
too.
up
Watch,
for
watch.
this
It's gonna
one.
be the man's fault. It's gonna be the man's fault. It's gonna
All
be
right,
all the men. All the men is taking all the women and making
I
them do
said she
stuff.
coming up for this one. All right, let me get Ennis in there. What's going on? Good morning. What are your
Good
opening
morning,
thoughts
good
on
well,
the
good evening,
topic?
good evening from
Oh, my
from the
bad. Good
UK.
evening for you.
But over sexualized. Yeah, the US is over sexualized, but in Europe it's on another level. They only just got rid of this thing called the page two girls like a few years ago. Basically, you could any kid could go down to the store and buy the newspaper and go to the page two and see a young lady flashing her boobs, like basically to see who got the best pair of tits, and that was like a regular. That was like a
What?
regular, yeah, a regular thing. It's called the Page Two Girls. Um, like we got the red light district over here in Amsterdam. It's like and Ibiza, and you know about heard about all those places. It's just on it's on another level, man.
I
Um,
believe it.
the tax is on another level, but over sexualized. Uh, yeah, when I first moved here, I was a bit surprised at the commercials. I mean, they were like they were jaw dropping some of the commercials. Like these are just regular commercials, just came on the telly. So, but yeah, so that's my bit. I just wanted to chime in about like where did it come from? Like what was the question? Um,
It's just opening
about
thoughts on the topic in general.
just on the topic of like yeah, just man, I think as a young man, I was like I was telling some lies. Yeah. Yo, I kissed so and so and and all of that stuff from early, man, trying to be, like I knew what I was talking about, like, just because you seen it so much because it's, and yeah, I don't know. It started from early. So, and big up the
Gotcha.
Cowboy fan.
All right. I want to hear what Auntie J got to say because you out here in these streets looking at what these girls wearing and what these boys doing. Tell us what your opening thoughts are on the topic.
Shout out
You
to
on?
Mike and the panel. Good morning. I mean, good afternoon. How's everybody?
What's
Yeah,
that, Monty?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I see you in June, Posse Bond. Um, I think that American women, this is my honest opinion. A lot of them, to me, appear to be the way they dress, over sexualized. And I've never seen so many breasts that I didn't want to see in my life. And it's sad to me that we as females think that's the way we get a husband or keep a man. You know what I'm saying? Less is not best. And I'm not saying that men don't like to look at cleavage, but a man doesn't want his woman showing her breast. And that's why when you get in a relationship and you dress a particular way, and then a man be like, wait a minute, where you think you're going out there like that? Because a lot of times women don't realize what they bring to the man that they with when they dress a particular way. So yeah, I do think it's over sexualized and it's not going anywhere because men are not getting in relationships, men are not getting married, women are not getting married, they're not having babies. It's just weird to me. There are no standards to me. There's no order. Women think that men don't know what it even feel like to be a man or carry the load that a man has to carry. So yeah, we've been misled to think that, our bodies can get us that man. So yes, I think it is over sexualized. Over sexualized.
2 times. Got you. My man Trey,
Over over.
what's going on? Good afternoon.
What's good? Hello, everybody. Good
What are
afternoon
you
Hey,
from where
opening
I'm
Trey,
with?
at.
how are you?
Good afternoon,
Um,
Trey. What's good?
I think it's low-hanging fruit to pull the capitalism and saying, well, that's just the way America is. America's over-sexualized. That's low-hanging fruit. I think we all know that by now, that sex sells. That's an easy one to pull. I think the more difficult conversation to have is what's happening in your household, what's happening in your home. What examples are being set. For me, and I've said this before, I have a younger sister who's mid 30s, single and childless. And one of the reasons why she is where she is because she didn't have an example to show her what a wife looks like. She didn't have an example to show her how to go get a man and all those types of things. She didn't have that. My mother didn't get married till I was 17, and she was only married for 3 years, and then she got divorced. So she's never had an example on how to do this thing correctly. So I think the easy thing to say is well, the world is over sexualized and we make a whole lot of money off of sex. And if you want to make money doing something, just hire a bunch of naked women and they can, they'll get it done for you. That's easy. That's easy to pick from that tree, right? The harder thing to say is, where are the fathers who set the standards in this house to tell the daughters, we don't leave the house looking like that. And you can't wear that. And you can't act like now. Granted, there's a lot of, girls and daughters. I went to high school with them and I was in the military with them. Once they got out the house, they're going to do what they want to do. All right. But where's the standard? I think that's a more difficult conversation. I think in our community, in the black community, like mostly everything that's ever happened to us, things that were not for us, we took it and ran with it. We did more with it than what we were supposed to. Feminism, drugs. We did way more with it than what needed to be done with it, and it's ultimately hurt our community rather than help our community. Our community is absolutely over sexualized, and it's because we allow it.
Hey, Trigger Mike, can I ask this real quick of Trey?
I want to push back too.
Yeah, can I?
We're actually going to do the debate. Just write it
Okay,
down.
go, yeah, go, yeah,
We're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
debate
yeah.
the whole thing, and that
Okay,
question is next.
okay.
So and I'm gonna ask the question. We're just gonna debate it. So it ain't gonna go around on the next one. Granville, you about to troll us this morning? What's going on?
I ain't gonna troll y'all. People gonna do what they gonna do, and that's just simple. You could raise them up right. You could do whatever you want. Once they leave your house, they're gonna be what they want to be. They're gonna be who they're gonna be. You can't change nothing about that. So if you want to go out here and get blued out, then she gonna do that. If you want to go out here and have 5 babies, he gonna do that.
All
But
right.
let me
So
tell you one
Granville,
thing: you're gonna be judged.
Granville. So upbringing got nothing to do with it.
No, because the person has free will. You can teach them all you want. They'll know
So
that, but they still gonna do what they want to do, even though if they gotta back up and look at the
all right.
regret that they
So
did it.
just to be clear, we all just hoes out here or hoes in waiting.
No, like I said, people are gonna do what they're gonna do.
Okay.
That don't mean everybody's gonna do it.
Okay. Got the young man's perspective. Neighborhood.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning,
What's
everybody
going
on
on?
the panel. Mr. Mike, Trigger,
What's going on?
fellas, ladies.
What you got
So,
on it?
I'm going to put a little context on it because I grew up in a place that is very free and very sexualized. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, where, babies pampers. Like they start off early, shaking as they call it where I'm from. But to bring it to where it is now, I know women that have PhDs and a lot of accolades that when the beat come on, they gonna drop it. Like that's just where we are today. And it has not changed. And the worst thing I can say about this, I have been privy to watch a woman's maturation from going from 1,000 followers on the internet to over 100,000. And to see that and see them change to a point where they will post on the internet, I have 3 degrees that I'm ready to sell because they making so much money off of doing the over sexualized things on the internet. It is very hard to combat that type of capitalistic nature for women who used to go into the workforce and want to build a name as a CEO, when now they are the CEOs of sex, and they sell it, and they sell it abundantly because it pays. And if it didn't pay, they wouldn't do it. And they will go as far as to eliminate the thought of a man being in their world, because the fantasy of that world and having all the adulation from men just, giving them money, telling them how beautiful they are, they would rather that fantasy than the reality of a man, a husband, a family, a life. They going for that. My mic is muted.
Yo, we gonna coin that one. That's just a perfect stop on this. All right, where we at? PhD vibe. What you got on it?
Hi. First, Trigger Mike, I want to say, I only come up here on Friday, so I'm not really impressed with your prediction that I might come up.
I didn't pick up the pattern. I didn't pick it up.
Okay. So about the topic, I just kind of question the whole over sexualized thesis to begin with, just because if you've been to, and I'm sure you have, other countries, there are countries that are way more like sexualized than, this country. And also looking at those countries and cultures, Black cultures tend to be more sexual than other cultures, but we're here for the purpose of procreation. So where we have countries wondering if they're still going to be around in 150 years because people aren't having sex enough, then is it really a problem that people are having sex, especially when even in this country and among Black people birth rates are going down?
Okay.
So for me, I just kind of question the entire over sexualized thesis to begin with.
You kind of just made me realize why I'm not voting ever for a woman president. But I'm gonna get at you on the debate side. I'm gonna write this down. Dub Will.
Okay.
Yo, how's on
What's
mic? Mic
going on?
check. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, first of all, I want to say it's crazy how Israel gave like a 5-minute ad, but then gave like a 30-second answer. That's one. Shout out to Israel. Shout out to the panel. How y'all doing this afternoon? It is Black culture over sexualized? Yes, because if y'all are familiar with the saying that when America catches a cold, Black people catch the flu, American culture in general is over sexualized. And so, like someone said earlier, I can't remember who, we tend to take what America does and the negative parts of what America does and take it to the extreme. So when the sexual liberation happened, I believe like the early mid 60s, I think Black culture kind of took it and ran with it. Now, has there always been a element of sexualization in the Black community? Yes, but it was always done in the background. You had the juke joints, but that wasn't on Front Street. And if you got caught in some of these places, it was a certain amount of shame. If a teenage girl got pregnant, she got sent down south, or they would, try to do things to cover it up. But now everything's on Front Street because American culture in general puts everything on Front Street. I mean, you can just look at the prawn business itself. I mean, if you wanted to get away from it, you can't because it's everywhere. And so we just take it and kind of do it to the max. That's just my thought on it.
Mom, all right, bet. So, Coco, you didn't go. Okay. Um, no.
Oh,
So,
I'm here. I'm
wait.
trying to mute. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Um, okay. So, opening thoughts is I would say, in general, American society and culture is over sexualized. But what I will say is what propels it all the more is media. Because if you look in the Black community, it tends to be more conservative in general. I think what draws more attention is the outliers or the few people that are promoted in media to be overtly sexual, because that is what is profitable. That is what is marketable. I'm currently working on a college campus, And when I take survey of most of the students, it's only if, and particularly the women students, it's not a majority of them that are walking out half naked, looking. It's not that. It's a smaller percentage, but they tend to get attention because they are the few ones that are out there with tight tights and small crops and things like that. And then when you see that that small percentage is getting most of the attention or getting attention, then the other groups look to themselves and say, "Do I need to do that? Do I need to do that to get attention?" Because all of the eyes of people are turning around or speculating whether good or bad, um, to get that attention. Um, One thing I have to say, we cannot confuse attention or fame as into people getting money. There's only a small percentage of people who are OnlyFans or do that type of work that are making six figures and upwards of that. Most people are not making that money when they, and there's also a lot of scamming culture when it comes to social media and Instagram followers. Followers just does not donate that person's making a whole bunch of money. So those are just some things. Oh, and the last thing I want to say is it's one thing to say individual will, that is correct, but community and conditioning does make it that a certain groups of people will tend to get married, build wealth within a marriage, or build legacy within marriage, and continue that tradition and earn more, have more income, and certain groups do not. So to say everyone is just doing their own thing, yes, if you are the only family who has grew up a two-parent household and with those values and not in a community that believes that way, it will be harder for your children to continue on that path. But if you came up in a community that did that, that's a different story. And I think again, whatever happened in the 70s and to trigger Mike's point, when we don't value ourselves, that means that we are tossed to and fro from anything, any outside, anything that doesn't that we need instant gratification will sway us. You know, the Bible says, "Grow a child in the teach a child in the path in the way that they should learn." I'm messing it up. And when they are old, doesn't mean that they're not going to rebel because you have the prodigal son example. Doesn't mean that they're not going to um, do certain things, but they get back to it if they have the community and structure and environment to be raised in it. And most people today are not raised in that structure.
Trigger Mike, to that point, can I say something? So Dub Will said about I did a commercial. So Dub Will, I hear what you're saying, right? But this is the thing. What I've decided to do along with the Angry Man is to show, you know what I'm saying, to show the work, right? We've been having these circular conversations for far too long. We've been shaming these women for far too long. We've been talking about it. And to the sister Afro Pop's point, if you cannot show, if you cannot have a community of people doing it, the work that you're doing in your home, and I think CEO DMP talks about this a lot, the work in your home is not going to be good enough. Like Trigger Mike says, it takes a village to raise a child. It's going to take a village of people. It's going to take a lot of people coming together with a like mind to be able to change the process and to change the philosophies of the people. And so what we're attempting to do in a very fun way is to just start the conversation in a different type of way. Just get back to the basics of us getting along. And that getting along will help us to work together to build something better. So I know I did a lengthy conversation, a lengthy commercial, but the commercial was for a purpose. It goes a lot further. If you come through and we have a dope conversation, we have fun again, it goes a lot further than anything I could just say on this one little panel.
Israel.
Israel. I think that's
Israel. It was a joke. I was joking with you.
Oh no, I didn't take it personal. I mean, a lot of people were saying I didn't take it personal. You know, Double, I got love for you. I don't take nothing personal. I'm just saying But for real, I think that this is our attempt to try to make things happen. You know what I'm saying? To try to do
No,
things a little
yeah,
different way.
I could just say, and I agree with you. I just thought it was funny with that you did that, and your answer was like really short. I just thought it was funny. That's all.
Well,
I
Trigger Mike,
like
I got
that.
a bunch of pushback for Trey.
Hold on. We got Sparkle left to give
Oh,
her
okay.
Oh,
opening thought. Oh, we gonna get
that's
into it. I got
Sparkle.
notes. I got smoke for a couple of y'all ass. All right,
Me
Sparkle.
too, Mike.
Let's get your
Yeah,
opening
yeah,
thought.
that's smoke, but yeah.
Okay. Now, this is a really, really good topic, Mike, because me being from London, I have a different observation. A large amount of my family from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Jamaica to be specific, and obviously American cultures was advertised all across the world. Now, I would say the Black culture that's marketed to the world as a whole is over-sexualized. And that's coming from Jamaica, from America, you name it. I find that I don't know if it's because, you know, the English term, the marketing term, sex sells, right? So I don't know if it's because the sexualized images we see feed to the carnal mind and they make the quickest money for a lot of people, men and women alike. I don't think this is a gender specific issue, to be honest with you. Women, I think, are the first to fall prey to it when it comes to the easy money. But I think if you're looking at hip hop culture, thug culture, the sort of sexy imagery that you see is what's selling. And in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, you see the sort of the ratchet twerk culture. All of that is really highly promoted. And I think it's toxic because the narrative that's now come forward is that if you try to be a classy, upstanding citizen that speaks well, that dresses well, that is respected, people call you a bounty or a coon, or they say that you're trying to be white and that you're not black enough if you just try and move with class. And what's happening is we're in a position where we're really trying to have our cake and eat it. We want to do all the sexy stuff, have the imagery, but yet we still expect to put forward classy standards and have our kids grow up in a well-rounded manner. You can't have it both ways. You can't serve two masters, as the Bible says. You can't be a fence sitter. We're in a position now where we got to think, how do we want our children to come up in this? In my opinion, reserve the sexiness to the one that you're in bed with at night. Reserve it to more private surroundings. I don't need to see everybody's ass. I don't need to see everybody's chest. I don't need to see pants sagging. It's getting to the point where people think that that's all Black culture is. And when you go into certain parts of African culture or certain parts of West Indian culture, and we come with some real knowledge and spiritual stuff and educated stuff, people don't want to hear any of that because that's not what looks good. And we're in a position now where we really have to start thinking hard about this, because it's I never thought I'd see the day when this OnlyFans culture is the preferred way of making money. I find it so sad and so depressing, especially because I got,
Starbucks don't got no workers.
honestly, I mean, I see, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I've got young girls in my family, and whenever I see music on the TV and I see any of the twerking and that, I think, please, if I ever catch any of my nieces twerking or doing any of that stuff, I'm gonna have a problem. So I don't know. I don't really know why we're so quick to jump into it and make it seem like it's a good thing. I really don't. But I don't think it's just American, but I don't think it's just female. This is definitely a Black culture issue, in my opinion.
Oh, it's definitely not just an American issue. I got cousins, and if my family isn't in the U.S., in fact, most of them are actually in the U.K., if not Nigeria. So this is spreading everywhere, and it's debate time. All right, so my smoke, that should come to no surprise, is going to PhD's comment. All right.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. So let me just preface it like this. Carnival was last week.
Mhm.
All right. So one of my biggest gripes, and the reason I think that black culture is over sexualized, is because we take our novelties and traditions, and that's a tradition. Let's just say it. It's a scandalous tradition, but it's a tradition. Some of these things should be best kept, like not behind closed doors, because it's outside, but not marketed to the mainstream. We are one of the only cultures that takes our novelties and scandalous traditions and market it to the mainstream as our popular culture. That's what I'm saying. The rapper Future is more popular than a black pastor. Future is more popular than a black house dad. When you say in the black community, show me your best, somebody gonna put a rapper and Nicki Minaj up there. Guarantee it. That is why black culture is over sexualized. Black culture was over sexualized when they brought Cardi B and Lil Baby to the White House to represent black people. The hell are y'all talking about? They're not doing that for white people. They're not doing that for Asians, not doing it for the small hats. That's what they think of black people. A chick that used to be a stripper is up there speaking for black people. There's
Wait
no
a
way.
minute. Wait a minute. Trigger Mike. Let me say this. And again, you make a lot of great points, but you're trying to make it seem like Marilyn Monroe was not an American icon. You're trying to make it seem like Pamela Anderson Lee was not an American icon at one point in time.
You gotta let me finish this because
Okay, go
I'm
ahead,
gonna
fam.
get to it in a second. So in most of these cultures, yes, we actually got examples of all those people. Is there a stigma attached to those women? Yes or no? No, there is. There is a stigma. They're literally known as sex symbols.
But not only that, they
Not
didn't
respectable
represent.
women,
But they
not
didn't
women you take to
represent
the
black
White House
people.
unless it's underneath. Didn't they have a room for her underneath the White House? Yeah, that's
Mike,
not the
here's the
woman
thing.
you.
But Mike, here's the thing. I hate to bring the racial element into it, but when a white person is sexualized like that, it doesn't seem to cheapen the whole culture. That individual person is looked at as a sex symbol. Whereas I'm sorry, I haven't seen a white artist dropping a song like WAP yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the kind of stuff that's pushing our culture.
Oh no, they have.
Sparkle.
Hold on. Y'all are taking on my points, but you remember I said it is how it's marketed to the mainstream. So WAP is a mainstream song. Black women. Twerking on stage is a black thing. Lollipop licking. Pasties on album covers. This is a primarily black thing. I don't know how y'all can say it.
So
Mike.
No other culture will let that be marketed to their young girls in mass.
Well,
right?
twerking actually came from
wait. You mean like pretty young? You mean like Pretty Young Liars? Wait. You mean like
I think no.
Pretty Young Liars, or what's the other thing? You mean like Mardi Gras? You mean like that?
Well, I'll say one word that's known. Wait. I'll say one word. I'll say one word around the world that counters your point hugely, and her name is Madonna. Now, everybody knows from Like a Virgin to all her songs that in the backstage she was the superhead. She was the thing with he even had a thing with Michael, biggest name in the world. So yes, in the white community they have their whores, but like Israel was saying, just because or Sparkle was saying, just because they have their whores, it means that they're up, not down. Monica Lewinsky was an intern, and is world famously intergenerationally known.
Great damn point.
Like
EB, let me get it.
From now to the end of time. From now to the end of time.
For what?
For all through the end of time, book tours, speaking fees, doesn't matter. From a sexual
It does matter.
encounter.
EB, let me get at him real quick. Real quick.
But they don't make all white women hoes because of a couple of hoes. They make all black women hoes because of a few hoes, and that's not cool. That's not right.
No.
Yes, Trigger Mike. Go
Mike,
ahead, get at him, King.
Mike,
all right, King Spark.
Mike, I got something for you. Okay, first of all, we're not gonna be able to get away from the power structure. I'm gonna shoot a bullet at Mike, and then I'm gonna shoot one. Hit Trey first, and then Mike. First of all, Trey, you talking about where the fathers are. If we're gonna talk about where the fathers are in the black community, I'm gonna tell you we gotta start with jail. And if we start with jail, it's gonna lead down a windy, twisty road right back to the power structure. Mike, you just said the reason is the media is not gonna let them blah blah blah. Well, who the hell controls the media?
Right.
Who is controlling the narrative? The goddamn power structure. So tell me about it.
So the media shot the video?
No, the media is disseminating
The media made
the information.
Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion put on bikinis and twerk on stage.
I ain't said it. No. I'm saying the media is covering it.
The power structure.
They're in control.
The power structure made them do the drugs.
Wait.
No,
the power structure made them sell the drugs.
Wait.
But the point is,
wait, Trey. So now you're gonna make it seem like white people don't sell way more drugs than any black people that you know.
I'm just responding. I'm just responding to what King Spark said. He's talking about the power structure, and at the end of the day, while I don't disagree with King Spark about the power structure, because I've seen it firsthand and what it can do, I have also seen black men make the conscious decision to not be a part of it. I've seen them do it. I am one of them who said I will not do that. I won't be a part of it. So at some point in time, our community has got to make the conscious decision to start doing what is best and healthy for our community.
But this is wait, hold on, real quick. This
We're
is the
gonna
thing.
get Sparkle then Coco.
Okay, but let me.
And I'll get to you, Israel. Trey and to Sparkle, just real quick. Trey and King Sparks, two things can be true. It can be true that there are certain black men that choose not to go into that path that destroys the black community. It can also be true that, say for instance, if a white person wanted to have a song about killing and shooting a whole bunch of white people, that the powers that be will not let that become mainstream. They will not. But they will most definitely allow it for our community. That person does not probably.
They can't allow it if the song doesn't exist.
No.
Wait. Let her finish.
Black people have to be perfect. So basically, is what you're saying.
Right, and that's crazy. Let her
finish. It really is. Black people are allowed to.
Let's not go to the extreme. This isn't about perfection.
No, but it is because what happened.
No, it's not. No, it's
Can I
not.
say that? No, wait, Trigger Mike. You let him rock. You let him rock, and it's her turn.
Then you're saying that we basically need to do everything right.
Can I finish?
I'm muting Mike. Coco, then Sparkle. Go ahead.
To PhD Diva's point, and then I'll allow the time to Sparkle. It's not for my concern is not controlling the media, because the media what it is. My concern is for us to build communities so that the media's effect will be lessened, because what they see in the media and what they see in their community are two separate things, and that they can distinguish that what's in the media does not have to be the reality of what their lived experiences, and there are other pathways for what they can choose. But let us not, because I see it, but I'm still not choosing to be sucked into the matrix due to what they are promoting. But I know what it is. But to the point of, no, they do not force us to make the videos. But you know what they say? If you speak about bang bang, I'm from the hood, blah blah, I will give you money. If you speak about peace and brotherhood and sisterhood, and it's going to be harder for you. And for a poor person or someone who's come from struggle, what might be appetizing at that time is to take the money then to work beyond integrity. And what I'm also telling you is they will not actively promote, have the algorithm push white people having messages of being defamatory to their women or killing one another. They will not.
So I have to speak on this particular thing, because we've let that narrative exist for too long. There is no engine. There is no engine behind this, because let me tell you, if white people killing each other made money, another white person will get behind it and market it. This is a free market society.
I disagree.
That's absolutely not the truth.
I was like,
can I go after Sparkle? That's absolutely not the truth.
Let me just tell you this. Why are we keep saying that they're giving money to these rappers to rap about killing them? No, that's not the truth. These people grow up in the hood. That's the life they know. Therefore, they rap about it. We consume it, and somebody figured out how to sell it. We could own. Jay-Z did it. He owned a piece of it. Nobody got on him. Nas owned a piece of it. Nobody got on him. When it's a black person doing it, no one cares. No, The Rock, we bought it. Good music, we bought it. But as soon as a white person decides
We
to
are
buy
not
it
the
and market it,
majority
now all of a
consumer.
sudden,
Yeah, wait.
I was gonna say
Can
that.
I get in here too after Sparkle, please, man?
oh,
No,
my
Because
bad.
Trigger
Yeah,
Sparkle,
Mike.
we're
you
not the majority
Sparkle,
consumers.
you next.
Hold on.
And
Okay.
then after you, Israel, because I got something to say about what you were saying about
Hang on.
stuff.
Okay. We need to stop looking at things with with so many oversimplifications. First and foremost, the reason that all these things are more problematic to black people is because society, whether you're talking the media or the government, whatever, they set the bar so low for black people that if we try and do anything that looks righteous or whatever, all of a sudden we're some sort of revolutionary and we need to be silenced. White people do the sexualized stuff. All this, look, Playboy, all this stuff is white stuff. We know that, right? Madonna, like you said, Marilyn Monroe, Hustler magazine, all this stuff is white stuff. But the point is, it doesn't affect the marketing of white people. Now, if we're going to be honest, people already expect white people to be exemplary. So all the people who do all of that stuff are just considered as just, the off-caste people that they don't really want to, the white trash, if you will, that they don't want to associate with. But with black people, unfortunately, all the different institutions that make us the most money seem to be benchmarked on sex, be it the music industry, the film industry. A lot of the sports industries have sexy imagery, and so on. And the problem is you can't just blame the white guy or whatever. Look, when it comes to creators, when it comes to artists, musicians, whatever, they're the ones who choose to stand up in front of a camera with everything hanging out and twerking on screen. They're the ones that choose to push this imagery. Look, if you take it back into the 60s when it was all, when it was the Black Panther movement and so on, it was all positive imagery that was selling. It was righteous imagery that was selling. It wasn't all this trash ratchet stuff that came in the late 80s and the early 90s with the gangster rap and all the rest of it. We keep feeding this beast, and then we want to cry when people look at us a certain kind of way. Now, as I think Israel mentioned it before, if one or two black women look like hoes in the media, they assume every black woman acts like that in the club, or every black woman acts like that when on the street. And when you're a black woman that like that, you're seen as the anomaly. Or if you're a black guy that isn't sagging and isn't looking some kind of way, and you come with a bit more class, oh, you're trying to be white. This is the problem. Is the bar is so low for us that we can't fall into the traps that are set for us. We got to think beyond the easiness that's just, again, if we want to have a certain imagery, we have to set the standard. Why do we keep adhering to the standard that they set for us and then cry?
Because they're making money. If white people are making money off of
Hold on,
sex,
King Spark. Hold on,
Oh,
King Spark. I was next. Hold on.
Remember,
let me
the
get
love
super
of
text,
money.
and we're gonna go to Israel.
Remember, the love
and then
is
easily 1, 2, 3.
it's toxic. You can make money without doing all of that mess. Look how many successful black businessmen there are. They're not in the media, but there's tons of them.
Sparkle. Remember, all of my monologues on this type of topic start with fatherlessness. Until you replace that, until you fix that problem, this is gonna keep happening over and over. People can't fix it themselves. Daddies are responsible for fixing this. All right, Bashu, $5. Appreciate that for the discussion. Bashu again, just like Sunday school, no class. Granville, where the hoes? My guy's toxic. Where the hoes at? We gonna find out. Bashu again. My homemaking skills comprise most of my IG. We gonna give another round of applause. But she already a wife. She already taken, y'all. Dub Will, $2 is with the shameless plug. We already addressed that. My man Israel, go ahead.
All right, so I want to say this. Okay, so this now we get into some deep water, right? And allow me to demystify some of these myths that are going on. First and foremost, we have to understand that when rap came in, rap was not popular. They said rap wouldn't last. They were totally against rap, right? When they realized the popular and what the way rap started was people in their own neighborhoods in impoverished situations and disenfranchised situations rapping about potentials to be greater and potential to be better. They were competing against each other. I do this better. I'm this better. So you know what I'm saying, in that particular manner, right? So now this is the thing. Once they saw how rap was becoming popular, and once they realized, they meaning the mainstream, saw how they can monetize rap and get paid off of rap and commercialize rap, then they embraced it and then they started pushing it out to the masses. So I agree with you in the sense of, yes, these people have been making this kind of music, so forth, so on. However, we have to identify that that is not the majority of Black people, nor the majority of Black people in America. Yo, Black America is not a monolith. We always say this, but then when we get in these conversations, we try to stip everybody together and glump all Black people together and say that we all think alike and we all feel alike and we all operate the same way. That is not true. So number one, Black America is not a monolith. We don't all think alike. We don't all see things the same way. We don't all identify with the same things. That's number one. But number two, it absolutely is an agenda of certain people. It's the same reason why you could get on these YouTube streets and say the N-word, could say anything disparaging about Black people, especially Black men, and say it and push it. It's the same thing, and the same reason why you cannot say anything disparaging about LBGYN.
Asian,
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me just finish. Let me
Go
just
ahead. Go
finish
ahead. Go
my
ahead.
point.
Go ahead.
It's the same reason why you cannot say anything about LBGYN, why you cannot say anything disparaging about the small hats, why you cannot say anything disparaging about certain groups of people. The reason being is because it is propagandized. It is pushed forth to the people and for their consumption, whether they accept it or not, whether they agree with it or not, but is pushed as an agenda to pass agendas. Also, to prove my point, in the last 15 years, you'll notice a couple of things. If you should happen to watch TV, you'll notice the commercials will have a white man and a woman of color, whether she be Black, whether she be Hispanic, and she's usually darker. You'll see a Black man with a white woman in commercials. You'll see people a part of the LBGYN community in almost every commercial and almost every show. There's no way that you can tell me that these are not agendas and propaganda and things being pushed upon the people. It's not about what you think it's about.
Let me
So
respond real quick,
okay.
and then we'll get to EBD. I well, I understand that's how we think it looks, and the reason we think it looks that way is because we have the lowest amount of stake in that process. We don't own anything. We don't own anything to
true.
push any of our own agenda. So we're just subject to the way things look and how we think they are. Here's a few things to disprove your point and what you just said. The Kanye West situation should have showed you that the only reason they allow the N-word and all this stuff is because we allow it. It's because we allow it. It ain't got nothing to do with them. Kanye West said one thing about the small hats, and they all came for his ass. That is how you stop. It's not propagandized. I own something. You're not going to talk shit to me on my own brand. I'm going to get myself and everybody I know to cancel you. And then people just stop talking about the small hats. If we allow it, they will market it. And since we have no stake or no companies to fight back, they have control. We can't just be sitting here making up, like, literally they're looking at us sitting down like, is anybody pushing an agenda? No, we're not. We're selling what you giving us to sell. We told you to make a product, we pay for it, you get a share, and they just marketing it.
Mike, you're
that's
halfway
not true.
right.
That's not true,
Mike, you're
Mike.
halfway right. You're
That's
not
not true though.
because wait,
Um,
because Mike, because
Mike.
wait, to just real quickly, I forgot the rapper, but on Spotify made mention of killing of deleting someone from another race. And Spotify said, before even people realized it, that we are not going to allow this song to be on our platform because you're speaking of doing something to another race. But you can speak about doing it to each other, to black people all y'all want. What I'm saying is, not that what I'm saying is the reality is that we appreciate money more in terms of that media space than ourselves. Because if you say, well, if we stop calling ourselves that, then they won't be able to. But yes, but what is incentivized? You tell me that I should be hungry or I should get money. Which one be out of for integrity purposes? The
But
integrity is not there to hold a stance to say, okay, we're going to completely stop, and
But
that's what it
Africa
takes for
pop,
us
it's
to
not
do
really even
so.
about. It's really deeper than that. It's not
No,
really
I'm
just
with you.
about
No,
the
Israel,
money and incentivize and these
Israel,
people get paid.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, I'm just speaking to the point of what he's saying. Well, y'all are saying it because I'm speaking to Trigger Mike's point of saying, well, if we were to stop to say it, then they would stop. But on a reality level, it will take a lot to get to that point.
Right, but this is the thing, and was the point that I wanted to make about Trey, and then we're gonna move on to someone else. Yes, hold on. This is the point that I wanted to make about Trey, right? That Trey was saying. This is the thing. It's not you got to think about it. Even in the NBA, right? In the NBA, there's only 400 and some odd active players in the NBA. In the NFL, is less than 2,000 active players in the NFL. In hip hop, there's only like a handful of popular hip hop artists, right? It's not like it's an abundance and this represents the overwhelming majority of the community. These are actually outliers to the community and actually anomalies in the community. But what they do is, like you were just saying, to your point, in Spotify, if you was to say something about another race, they don't even wait for no one to be outraged. They're gonna cut it off at the heels from the very beginning. With our music, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna promote and put the machine behind the most ignorant and the most trifling and the most whatever the case may be, and that's what they're gonna give the people to consume. Now, yes, it is the responsibility of the people to reject or to accept it. At the same time, what I'm saying is that they are pushing propaganda and they're pushing forth agendas through people, and it's a small group of people that they're pushing to the forefront. You see what I'm saying? That's supposed to be representing all of us, and they don't represent all of us.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
So
saying.
Trey,
We got that. We got
Hang on.
you. We got.
Let me respond to that. Why do they use those people,
Auntie
Israel?
J was supposed to be next, though, Trey.
Yeah.
I know,
Let
but
Auntie
real
J
quick,
get in. I'm gonna answer you.
you addressed me, but why do they use those people? Why do
Okay,
they
I'm gonna
use the
answer you,
NBA
Trey,
players, the NFL players, the entertainers? Why do they use them?
because they're paying them. But let
No,
Auntie J get in. Hold on, Trey.
no,
We can
no.
have
It's
that
not.
conversation.
Because
Trey. Auntie J
it's not
had
because
next,
it's not
fam.
because and
Trigger
she can
Mike, can
go.
you
All
come
right.
up? No, Auntie J had next.
It's
Let's don't. We
you
can
address
have this
me. Allow me
conversation.
to
Fam,
address it.
you
Allow me
addressed
to
me,
address.
and then I
If
was
you would just be
quiet when
quiet
other
for a
people
second
was.
and let me
Let
address it, then
Auntie
Auntie
J
J can
talk.
go.
Let
You want
Auntie
to keep
J
going
talk,
back and
Trey.
forth with me?
Trey, let
Just let me
Auntie
say
J
it.
talk, Trey.
Okay, once I'm done. The reason why they use these entertainers is because they're more influential. That's why they keep using them. They can't go to the mass because the mass people don't have the same influence as a Cardi B or a Nicki Minaj. That's why they keep using these people. So until we start getting entertainers that have a standard and are saying, no, we're not going to do that to our community, this is going to continue.
Right. Okay.
All right, Auntie J, go ahead, Auntie J.
Okay. So, what I want
Just,
Can you
somebody
mute?
need to
Can
mute up.
someone
Go
mute
ahead.
so Auntie J can talk? Mute so Auntie J can talk. Go ahead, Auntie J.
so to Israel's first point when he was talking about having a meetup of women and men coming over to his panel, like sort of like a date night, where it seems like it's no pressure and everybody is relaxed and everybody can talk and cam up and things of that nature. To me, we as females don't know what to do. We don't know what to do out here. Not me, I'm not saying me, but a lot of females, right? I don't understand, right? The thing that makes them relevant is men. Men make the 304s and the women that's showing everything relevant. If they had no men to make them relevant, they wouldn't do that. Say like I walk down the street half naked and no horns blew at me. I'd be like, damn, he can see my butt cheeks. Damn, he can see my breasts. I have them out. Why is he not hollering at me? You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, a lot of women, I'm going to say black women, I don't know a thing about the mayonnaise women. We're not using our brains. We're not using our brains, which is the most powerful organ on your body. They don't want to utilize it. And so when you don't want to utilize your top brain, right, then people can take advantage of the bottom half of you. Yeah, they pay them. It looks like it's good money, but it's no taxes. They're going to get old. Things not going to always be up. You know, I'm just telling the truth. As a boomer, you never have to submit yourself to that. You never do. And I think I have one of the most beautiful daughters in this goddamn world. And I'm so glad I told her that looks are fine, but your brain will take you where your looks can't. And if you just so happen to get both, then you thank God. That's the truth. And a lot of females are young. They don't have any role models. So it's just me do what you do, what I do. Me do what you do, I see you do it. Men hollering at you with that on. So let me do that. Because we don't have any standards.
That's some interesting points, Auntie J. Hey, look, into Black Dragon, let J Randoms get in here first, and then you go, and then Sparkle, okay? Just cool? J Randoms, you just came on. Welcome to the panel. Go ahead and get in here, sir.
Let me get after Sparkle.
We can't hear you. You're muted.
You're muted.
Is it
How
me?
you guys doing?
Oh,
we're doing good.
Good.
All right, gentlemen, ladies. Yeah, speaking of oversexualization, I mean, look at it like this. We're in a capitalistic society, and you know how capitalism works. You know, you buy yourself a product and you get what you pay for. As far as like the Black community, one thing I've noticed a lot coming on through after the civil rights era, and a lot of our heroes were, you know, taken out, killed for whatever reason. We seem to have put too much of our stock into entertainers to be role models for our community. And instead of just looking at them as entertainers, you know, they just rappers or they just singers, that sort of thing. People are looking up to these folks as people, you know, our quote unquote leaders for our community. But they're not leaders, they're entertainers. They're selling a product or service. When you stop supporting that product or that service that they're providing, whether it's ratchet behavior or, you know, music that's not to your liking, to your taste, you know, the market will adjust accordingly. We got to stop sitting here. It's funny. People know more who Cardi B is than they know who Jesse Russell is, which is that shows to you that we have, you know, Black leaders and other Black folks of inventors and things like that. By the way, Jesse Russell was the guy that he's one of the founders of the 4G network, cellular network. He's an electrical engineer who studied out of Tennessee State University. Anyway, yeah, it goes back to stop sitting here following behind entertainers. Take it for what it is, entertainment. Okay, these guys are just making music. They're just, you know, they're just representing a culture or whatever, which is all well and good. But don't take it no far as that. Don't sit here running behind these people like these are the leaders or these are the people that we should be following. Because they'll tell you, some of them will tell you straight up, hey, man, let me tell you, these folks is sitting in $1 million mansions. All their kids go to private schools. They're making tons of money off of you. You think they give a fuck about what your kid getting influenced by the music, go out to go hype oversexualize themselves or commit crimes and do other stuff because it's something they said on the record? Man, hell no. They living their life and you sitting here tagging up behind them trying to emulate them. And yeah, it just goes back to just look, stop supporting that nonsense. Stop buying their music. Stop visiting their websites. Stop watching their shows.
Into black jargon.
All right. So as far as the media goes, as far as over sexualization, I mean, I think it's a word, but it's I think it's what the word implies, right? I think what we're talking about are the things that we see on TV as far as BT late night when that was a thing, rap videos when that was a thing. I'm talking more Two Live Crew, things like that. But when it comes to over sexualization, the first thing that comes to my mind isn't really a black woman that's twerking, because that's kind of like late in the game. What comes to my mind is what we were talking about earlier, such as Playboy, such as Hustler, and all those things. That I was exposed to all of that first. I mean, when we're talking about consumption of these images and what's available, TV didn't really provide that back in the day. You had to actually subscribe and pay to get access to see sexual intercourse. You had to pay. You had to go through this whole thing. I mean, now it's a couple of clicks of a phone, but back in my day, it wasn't. Of course, it wasn't like that. So all I saw were white people engaging in this. There was no, Latino market, no black market for sexual content and adult content at that time. So we're now kind of occupying this space that's always been pretty much dominated by white people, which is media. I mean, they control all the magazines, all the broadcasts, all the radio. Everything that you see, say, and hear is kind of influenced from that hierarchy in this country. But now that everyone is more, now things are more diverse, right? Now you have your niches, now you have your Asian only, now you have this and that. So, but when it comes to the black community, I think that we're something different and special because I believe for the longest time that dancing and the art of dancing is how two people perform a mating call, right? Animals have mating calls, whether it be a noise that they make. Peacocks spread their feathers. For human beings, I think it's dance. That's why you have strippers who do their thing to entice. That's why you have your chocolate cities and all that other business. So yeah, and like everything else, you're gonna find something that makes a single dollar. You're gonna find $1 billion industry behind it. We just don't make any money off because we don't really, like we said before, own anything. Not even our own sexuality is owned. So, yeah, that's pretty much my thought on it.
Interesting points. Okay, Sparkle.
See, I think we talk about these things as if we're still 20 years behind. If we're going to be honest, the pendulum has started to swing. Mainstream media does not have the same level of sway as it used to. Social media does. If we're going to be honest, look how many people have come up through the ranks and are now big names because of social media. People like the Dylan Mulvaney's or the Jeffree Stars or the Jeff and Logan Pauls. So I feel like to constantly use the excuse of the media, social media is running things. There's more people watching YouTube than people watching your standardized TV stations. So with that in mind, is it not, hang on, with that in mind, is it not incumbent upon us to be more selective as to what we push forward? Because it's social media running the show and influencing stuff. Now, don't get me wrong.
Who runs social media, though, Sparkle?
Hang on. Don't get me wrong. Mainstream media is still a thing, but if we're going to be honest, people don't buy print magazines anymore. People don't really listen to the radio. They're on streaming services. People barely pay attention to it. It's only people of a certain generation and above who are highly fed through that. The youth and all of the, like the Gen Zs and below, they're all looking at stuff on TikTok and online. So the point I was going to make is that, yeah, there is a lot of over-sexualization. Yes, a lot of it comes from white people. We're not going to deny that. But as I said earlier, that isn't what's seen as the marketing tool for that entire culture to move forward. At the end of the day, they make money off of that. But most people don't think of white people as a sex thing, not in that respect. When they think, I mean, look, if you Google things like attractive black woman, chances are you're going to see, the BBLs, the weave, all the rest of it. You're not going to see, your natural chick and all the rest. You're just not. So it's like.
But wait a minute. Wait, Sparkle.
No, but
I'm
hang on.
at the
But all I
smogger,
was
right?
gonna,
Yeah, you are.
are we
You are.
gonna? All I was gonna say is, are we gonna continue to? Okay, yeah, fatherlessness. All these things are part of the problem, but are we going to continue to use those as excuses to carry it on, or are we
But
going to
it's not.
start trying to change it?
It's not an excuse. Real quick, if I could just address some things that she said. Social media is still ran by the same conglomerate of people. They run social media that ran mainstream media. That's number one. Number two, the agenda and the propaganda that's being pushed forward is absolute. It cannot be questioned because it's right in front of our face, right? So in TikTok, there's certain things that you cannot say on TikTok as a man that you can say as a woman. There's certain things that you cannot say as a heterosexual person that you could say as a person that belongs to the LBGYN community. It's certain agendas that are absolutely being pushed forward. That are absolute,
Exactly. So why do we keep feeding the agenda?
are absolute. No,
So,
but it's not about. It's not
so
necessarily about. Hold
listen,
on.
what I was gonna say, Mike.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, I got you, King Spark. 1 second. It's not about pushing the agenda. The thing about it is you cannot. A lot of times, right? It's something that is beyond our control. Like we can control what we consume. We can control what our children consume and what our children don't consume. And eventually, yes, that will make a difference. But in the short term, we have to understand that it is an agenda. That it is something that's being pushed on us. That it is something that's being monetized. But yes, the people can make a difference, but it takes all the people. It takes a large majority of the people.
Israel, I
and
completely
and Trigger Mike, this for you.
agree with you. Hang on, I completely agree with you. There is an agenda, but we're not these stupid puppets that are attached to somebody else's strings. They can't push these images of black people out there if black people don't create them. They can't push these things out there if we're not the ones.
Well, let me speak to that.
We're
Can I
feeding
speak?
the beast, and we want to cry
Let me
about
speak
it.
to that, Sparkle. Let me speak to that, Sparkle. And it's the same thing that you said, Mike. You said they can't push them out if black people don't create them, right? Everybody agrees with that. Well, are y'all aware of how much white people love powdered cocaine? Why don't they push that shit out there?
Yeah.
That's there. That's there. That's
Say that
there.
again?
So what do you know how much white folks love powdered cocaine?
Yes, I do.
You know how much they use
Prescription drugs,
right?
overdose
So
of prescription drugs.
why don't they push that shit out there?
There were movies about
You know
it. There's movies about it. I mean,
I'm just saying
have you seen the Wolf of Wall Street? All they did was quote the whole movie.
What did okay then? So let's stop acting like it's just black people doing fucked up shit.
We're talking about over-sexualized culture. You want to talk
I understand,
about
but it was the point. It was the point.
We're trying to
My
address
point
our
was, is that this stuff exists.
Wait, let him finish. Let him finish.
My whole point was y'all were trying to say that the only reason it's being pushed out there is because black people do it. All I'm saying is that they control everything, right? So if no matter who's doing what, right, they still get to pick what the narrative is. They still put your mugshot on the news, like make you look crazy, and they put the white boy, even if he killed 27 people, they put him in his suit that he was at prom with, and they say the young man had made a mistake.
This is what I don't like. This is what I really don't like this argument. This is why. Because as a father, right, as somebody who was raised to not do shit, one thing I could never tell my dad, right? One thing I could never tell him was, how come I don't get to do fuck shit like the white boy? He gonna look at me and say, did I teach you to do fuck shit? That is the dumbest argument ever.
That's the point is that's why it's out there.
You're not supposed to be doing fuck
but
shit.
Trigger Mike, y'all argument is that disproportionately. Your argument was that it disproportionately affects black people, and that's not necessarily true. That's not true. So that's why he's trying to debunk what you're saying.
Bring it in because I got to bring Love C up. Just bring
it.
In.
But Ennis Insecure Ben had his hand up.
Y'all know I can prove what I say, right? Y'all know I can prove it.
I know, but Ennis Insecure Ben had his hand up. Trigger Mike.
It does disproportionately affect black people.
Look, no, it doesn't disproportionately.
Yes, it does. Everyone's affected. We affected.
No, it's not true. We're just the ones that are put on mainstream.
Over-sexualization of black culture has led to who's the most undesired woman in the United States of America?
Thank you.
Allegedly, the
It
black woman.
trickles down in all facets. I
So
said it
if
in the
she's
monologue.
wait, you just
Hold on.
contradicted yourself.
Hold on.
You just
Hold on.
contradicted yourself,
I
Trigger Mike.
said it in the monologue. It trickles down to all facets of life. The most undesired man is an Asian man for other reasons. The most undesired woman is a black woman because people cite attitude and overly overt sexual nature.
When have black women, I'm sorry, ever been
Wait,
the
and
most
it's
desired
Insecure
in
Ben
this
has his
Right,
hand up, y'all.
right.
And
But I mean,
wait, Insecure Ben had his hand up, y'all. Why don't y'all
I'm
let him
sorry.
rock?
Listen.
Sorry.
Let me go around the panel and ask. Just give me.
Wait, Trigger Mike. The brother Ben had his hand up. In all fairness,
Who is
though.
it? Who is it?
And the brother Insecure. He been in his
Ennis.
Insecure.
Ennis.
Right here.
Yeah.
I've been waiting
I'm gonna drop
patiently.
down. I'm gonna bring Love C. Then Action Potential. I see you in the back. All right, I'm gonna bring you up after.
So
ahead,
can I speak? Yeah, okay, good. Firstly, what I would like to see from us, like this panel, is that if people could actually get around the panel, so everyone could just get like a 2 minute, 1 minute, to say what they have to say, because it's just been the same people back and forth the whole time. I got 3 points, really quick. Number one, rap music. The biggest consumers of rap music are white folks. You go to the concerts, you see nothing but white folks in the day. So we are not producing the music for us. We're producing the music for them because they love it. And then the people who make the money off of the rap music are the moguls who are Jewish and white and whatever. So we're just stuck in the middle. My second point, I don't hear any accountability for this conversation for why we are at where we are at. We're talking around in circles about this person and that person, but it all comes back to the family taking responsibility, how you raise yours and how you get on in your community to build your community. So that's the second point. There is no accountability. Mike mentioned Carnival. I used to cover Carnival like back in 2005. I love Carnival because of the costumes and everything. But now, if you go to Carnival, all you see is just naked women. If they're wearing the least amount of whatever they can wear, So it's no longer attractive to me because it's not culturally enticing anymore. It's just sexual. And my last point, I'm gonna get out of here, is Insecure, the name that I put up. How many of you watch Insecure? I mean, have you seen that show? Have you seen the amount of sex that's on that show from the 6 years that is up? From like, I only started watching it because the store that I ran in LA, they came and actually filmed outside the store. So I said, let me see what this is about. And it's probably one of the most popular shows in America. And it's sex from beginning to end in every which way roundabout. So like back to my other point, if we don't start taking accountability, if we don't start looking for solution, but I know that will make the conversation boring. So and no one will tune in because no one wants to hear about that. They just want to hear people go back and forth. That's it for me. Peace.
No, we're open to have that conversation. I think that Israel was just bringing up a point. I think we need to consider everything. It's not that, oh, it's only the mainstream and we can't do anything about it. No. But yes, I'll concede to Love C. Thank you, Trigger Mike.
Love C, yes, Love C.
Word.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Thanks for having me up, Trigger Mike. This is a good conversation. I actually agree a lot with what Ennis was just saying. I think that we'll never see success if we are always looking to someone else to be responsible for the results. So I'm not looking for the teachers at my children's school to be solely responsible for anything that happens with them. Social media, I agree that social media is bigger than large mainstream media when it comes to what people are intaking. However, if your children are watching something, they have parental controls. You have the ability to dictate what it is that they watch. You have the ability to dictate how long they're on a screen. You have the ability to say what will and won't go in your home. But I think a lot of when it comes to accountability, the one thing that we don't want to do is a lot of times we separate and we say, well, this is appropriate for me, but it's not appropriate for the children to hear. Children grow up to be adults and they watch what you do. It doesn't matter what you tell them. More is caught than is taught. So if you're listening to this music and you're watching these television shows and they aspire to be like you, which most children do, unless their parents do something horribly wrong, they aspire to be just like them, then they're going to look at what it is that you're doing and how you're carrying yourself, how you model yourself, and that's what you end up having. So that's how you can say, you know, I told them not to do this, but they partake because it's the things that they see that their parents are doing as well. But as far as over sexualization, when you see it's in everything. It's in billboards, it's in cartoons, it's in everything that you watch. But it's the responsibility of the family unit first. Everything in our society begins with a family. Families are built off of individuals being healthy. If you're an unhealthy individual and you listen to the types of things that you wouldn't want somebody doing or saying to your children, you're being hypocritical within yourself. And so then you go into a relationship and you create a hypocritical family where you lie, but you tell your children not to lie, where you watch overly sexualized women and they're cool for you until you get married. But then when you get married, all of a sudden it's going to stop. And it confuses the mind of children that grow up to be the confused adults that now can't draw a line between what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's acceptable, and what's not. And so it doesn't matter what goes on outside of the home. If the people that are responsible for inside of the home build a strong relationship, build a strong foundation, and teach morals and principles to the children, then when they go out, they'll see it, they'll be influenced, they'll be able to see what happens in the world, but they'll be able to make a distinction between what they've been taught and why they've been taught that, what they should follow and why they should follow it. And then after that, if they decide to make a decision to do otherwise, as parents, as adults, you can walk away from that situation saying, I gave them all the tools they needed to be successful. Right now, we're letting iPads and telephones and TVs and I see so many children on TikTok doing dances, and I know that they don't know everything educationally that they should or could. So you might say, well, they're on grade level. Well, help them, if they can remember a dance like that, help them be above grade level and move on to the next thing, you know, that will benefit them. Entertainment will always exist, but how much we choose to make leisure a priority in our lives, it trickles down to anyone and everyone around us. Even if you try to make friends and they're not as immersed in the culture as you are, you'll consider them, you know, lame. We don't really vibe. We don't all this kind of stuff. And so you automatically X out that progress from your circle because your mind is at a level that's absorbing leisure. So it starts with the individual. Once you change your mind individually, then you elevate the people that you enter into a relationship with. That creates a family. Those families create the people you work with. That creates a community. But we got to stop looking at people that have no interest in seeing us being successful and expecting them to create things that are going to better our lives if we're not concerned about it our own self.
All right, good points. All right, action potential.
Peace. It's usually always the things that we are afraid to confront that are causing the most problems in our lives. Meaning that we are in a Greco-Roman society. We are under Greco-Roman law, Greco-Roman customs. It's not a slight at people from the UK or people who have African ancestry or so forth. You're different from us here who were born on this land. Some of us have ancestry that comes directly from this land, regardless to what Europeans say about where we come from. But one thing that we can recognize is that those of us who have this likeness of so-called skin color, it's really your epidermis, your response to nature, we have a lot of similarities in the way we conduct ourselves, right? We have to accept that our grandparents didn't teach us to dress the way that we're dressing right now. It's not how we were taught. There were pimp movies back in the day. There was the Isley Brothers and George Clinton. And our grandparents were opposed to our parents conducting themselves like that. I can remember hearing and seeing the stories. So it's not like those mechanisms of how do we integrate ourselves in another person's culture because we have to survive through European culture without losing our own self-morale, right? So we have generational conflict. A lot of the records that you talking about music, a lot of the records you talking about are remade records of remade records of remade records. So if we're talking about hip hop was made from spinning James Brown and all these other artists. So if we're gonna ridicule the young men and women of today, you have to first look in the mirror and recognize that your parents had to do the same thing, and the grandparents had to do the same thing, because you are surrounded by a foreign culture. And then if you do your history on Greco-Roman culture, a lot of the sexual misconduct is rooted in who they are. And you can argue that, but all anthropological groups of people have behavioral patterns. And we all have different genetic makeups that give us a different response to our environment that makes us that way. So it will not be ignored.
So for
So we
layman's
also have
terms,
to deal with the fact that programming is affecting each generation. Each generation has their individual programming that the government is instituting. And it's up to each individual family to be able to understand how you're being psychologically assaulted. How are you being environmentally assaulted by local governments? That's what's occurring in your day-to-day life. So we can't condense ourselves into we are all Black people, because my environment in, let's say, St. Louis is different from the environment in Houston. They may grow up around different types of people. Just like the people in Miami may be different from the people in New York. We may look the same. Society may try to group you together, but we're different. This is why we have conflict with each other. We're different in our diet. We're different in what stimulates us. We're different in our social and traditional norms. So just because people are telling you, you're Black, you guys are the same, that's not true. That is not intelligent at all. Because when I see other groups of people, let's say Far East Asians, i.e. Orientals, I can differentiate a Korean from a Chinese, from a Japanese, from a Filipino, from an Indonesian, and know their differences and how they've had to intermingle with each other. But when it pertains to us, we seem to have lost an understanding of which groups of us get along, which groups of us don't. Are you the floor there?
all right. Yo, thank you for that perspective. So basically, in layman's terms, to break it down a little bit, in Greco-Roman times, he's talking about Greece and Roman, Greek and Roman, but in Greco-Roman times, they practice orgies, they practice homosexuality, they practice a lot of these practices, and some of them were even rituals that they practice. So thank you for breaking that down, brother.
All right. So now we're gonna go around again, because I thought we were better than Fight Club, but if I let it go debate style, we not better. We animals. We just like Fight Club. All right. How are kids affected by this over-sexualized culture? Israel. Then we're gonna go around.
And I apologize, a lot of people went. I think Love C was talking about TikTok and things like that. Children are affected by this over-sexualized culture because they began doing the dances. They began trying to emulate the things that they see. They began trying to do the things that they seen done or that they hear. So much to Love C's earlier point. So that's how they're affected. And what it does is it perverts their mind early, and it sends them down a pathway of destruction, really is what it does. My son is funny because my son always complains. And this is to the point that I wanted to make real quick. If you raise your children, right? Unfortunately, you kind of leading them to lambs to the slaughter, unfortunately, to a large degree. And I raise my son, I raise him right, and I teach him. And he comes back to me and he's like, Dad, they're always on TikTok. Dad, they're always doing this, they're always doing that. My son doesn't have a TikTok. He's never on TikTok. He doesn't portray those things. At the same time, he's constantly being barraged and he's constantly being alienated because he's not one of those children that participates in those type of things. And because the majority of those children in the community participate in those type of things, it shines a negative light on the children that don't. And to someone's point in the comments, what they were saying, the problem is we give too much attention, we give too much focus, we give too much credit to the people who are doing negative things, and not enough credit, not enough attention, not enough focus to the ones of us who are living positive, and doing things that elevate the community.
You know what it is though? It's because there is a kind of insidious agenda too, because a lot of people doing what they're supposed to be doing don't want the attention, because y'all heard me say it on more than one occasion. I come up here and I want what's best for the community, but y'all can keep raising these dumbass kids. It's just gonna make my kids go to Harvard even faster. So there's there's another side of it where I'm like, I'm coming out here so I can tell God at the kingdom of heaven I tried, but y'all keep raising these dumbass kids. It's gonna be people that are really smart and really stupid.
But it's gonna be really hard for the really smart ones though.
And can I respond to Israel what he was saying?
Yeah. Oh, in fact, who was that?
It's
Love
C.
C, and then I'm kind of break it up a bit. We haven't heard from PH Diva or I'm gonna go out of order. Love C, go real quick.
Okay, I'll be quick. I was gonna respond to what you were saying about your son not being on TikTok, and I think that that's one thing that I talk about when it comes to children, the importance of not only giving them a what they do and what they don't do, but also having a reward in there. And that may not be present, but it might be whatever else they are involved in, extracurricular activities, if they're doing, coding, robot, whatever their interests are, give them those interests and nurture those interests, and then also you instill worth in your children, and you say, I don't have you on TikTok because the things that are on there are inappropriate, they're not beneficial to your mind at this stage. You have a dream of being blank, whatever their dream is. In order to do that, these are the things that need to get done, and I'm here to make sure you succeed. So we're going to have you doing this, we're going to have you doing that, because TikTok isn't feeding into your mind to help you reach your goal. I'd be less than your parent. I wouldn't be loving you if I wasn't working to help you be successful. A lot of times we just say, don't do this, don't do that, and they don't know why. So then when they get to school, they want to be like everybody else. But if you paint that picture for them, it's not a catch all, but it greatens and they see you being successful, it greatens the opportunity for them to follow what you're teaching them.
That's absolute. His mother and I really do. We put him in robotics, and we do exactly what you're saying. He is in robotics, and we do encourage him, and we do tell him and speak to him about different things. So you're absolutely right about that.
So I just wanted to say this about I went to see TD Jakes once, and I know some people think he's the freeway Ricky Ross of praise, but I went to see him once, and he said something very profound about his son. I think his son was, his daughter got a real interesting story. Didn't she have like a baby at like 14 or something like that? And he was, I guess he said he didn't want to make the same mistake.
Yes.
Whatever kid was next. And he said he walked up into that dorm room on purpose. And it's like, don't let nobody tell you. And the reason that resonated with me was because I was somebody who was kind of sheltered. And then you put somebody who's sheltered on that college campus. Oh boy. So you were right about that part, Kings Park. And he said, do not let these experiences define you. I told you who you are. I spent my entire life shaping your identity. Don't change it now. He's like, I'm going to check in on your ass and let you know. Well, he didn't say ass, but you know what I mean? And let you know exactly who you are. These girls don't define you. This frat don't define you. The letters on the school letterhead don't define. He's like, I told you who you are. I take that approach in raising my kids. Like the way I talk to my kids, you would think they were in boot camp. But you would think it was me until you see them standing at attention, soaking up everything I say. Because I'm trying to build their identity. Right? So nobody can come in and infiltrate that easily. All right. PhD, go ahead. We haven't heard from you in a little while.
Sure. Just to respond to what you just said about what you tell your children. So human development, the cycle of human development is that when children become adolescents, their peer group becomes more of an influence, and, they may kind of deviate from what the parents have taught them. But, as they go through like young adulthood into mid to late 20s, then they start coming back around to what the parents taught them. So that's kind of normal for any, young person to kind of go astray and then come back to what it was they were instilled with to begin with. But to answer the question about how kids are affected by the over-sexualized culture, Carter G. Woodson, who is the man who created what became Black History Month, said if you control what a man thinks, you don't have to worry about his actions. So we all know that children are sponges, so they soak up, whatever they have around them. And so one way that I see children, specifically Black girls, being affected by the over-sexualized culture, and even like older women, which is kind of weird to me, is that
they twerking on IG now. What's that, twerk grandma? Y'all know what I'm
Right.
talking about?
I saw a 61-year-old woman with a BBL and, posing with her butt towards the camera, which was just strange to me because
No way.
61. So, and she did look good to be 61, but looking good to be 61 means you look like you're 51, right? So still an older woman. But, so seeing, just girls through women in adulthood, every picture, I'm like, if I see one more Black woman's or Black girl's butt, so it's at a point now where many of us seem to think that all we have to offer is, or, the main thing we have to offer society is our looks and specifically how big our booty is. And so that's just kind of concerning to me, because knowing that Black women typically have had compromised self-esteem or self-worth, to me it seems like, and many people take that as self-confidence and like it would be getting better, but to me it looks like it's actually getting worse, because they don't understand that as people, as women, they have a lot more to offer the world and themselves than what they have going on the outside, even though it can be lucrative in these days. But so that's just one way that I've seen that it seems to affect Black girls.
Indeed. Let's go to Trey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's from Brazil. He's telling me how great Brazil is.
I'm pretty sure he's telling you that the whole culture is probably just as worse. Probably worse.
I don't think he's involved in that. He's about to get married, so I don't think that's his life. But maybe he knows, maybe no. I'll ask him. Is whole culture a big deal in Brazil?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said yeah.
Yeah. He was smiling.
We all heard that. We all tell him we all heard that.
He said yeah.
No hesitation.
Oh yeah.
So for me, the kids being affected by over-sexualized culture, listen, everybody on the panel and most people in the world, they're good parents. They're going to try to shield their kids as much as they possibly can, right? And unfortunately, because the influence is just so strong, they're going to be subject to it no matter how many parental controls you put on and how much you try to keep them active and, in activities after school. I had a cousin that plays soccer, and they were talking about Megan Thee Stallion while they were in the middle of practice. Like, it's around. It's influential. In my opinion, the only way we start to get these kids to see differently is somehow, some way, we've got to get to the people, the minority, according to King Spark. And I think it was King Spark that laid out the numbers, or was it Israel? They laid out the numbers of the NBA players and NFL players. Yes, they are a small group of people, but they have the largest influence. That's the issue. They have the biggest influence. And until we can get a message to the people who carry the most influence, we're going to continue to sort of see the same messages over and over and over again, which is a culture of sexualization. That's what the kids are going to continue to see until the message gets to the people who have the most influence, the strongest influence, to change their messages, to send a different message to the kids. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Let's go to Coco. You there?
I'm here. I'll say quickly. So in 2015, I went to a sex education conference that different organizations who dealt with middle school, high school, and college students to go beyond the assumptions made of teenagers when it comes to sex, how often they're having it, what they think about it, what their ideas about it. And one of the from the studies The average age, and again, this was like 2015, so a lot of things could have changed by then, but the average age of children viewing their first adult film or scene is 11 years old. And typically, unfortunately, young male children have been over sexualized in this culture because they do not think about or want, they may desire and have, puberty onset, but they're not thinking I need to have sex with so many women or a whole bunch. That's not what the average young teenager thinks. They're really trying to figure out what is going on with them. I really like this person. I'm kind of uncomfortable, trying to figure out that. But then you have the outside influence, which goes to the question how kids are affected by over sexualized, is to say, well, you have to do this because this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to be so and so. I think what would help to combat that is parents having that communication open so that you can know the difference between the real and the fake. Because what is currently happening to young adults in their particularly for males in their mid 20s, is they're having erection dysfunction. They're having all types of problems with sexuality due to the unrealistic um, scenes that they see in adult films. So then when you actually get with a real person and it doesn't go like that, or it's not comfortable in the way that they are acting because they are actors, now you have well, this is not, I thought it was supposed to be this way. I'm in this interaction and it's not that way. And it messes a lot of things up. So it's very important, particularly in our community, to be open and realize the changes within our children and have those conversations about what sex is and sex isn't.
Yeah. So about that adult
Mhm.
film thing, it does more than mess kids' mind up. I've tried some of that stuff as an adult, and woo. Let's
You know
just
that
say
they're actors. They are
let's just say I
actors.
had to ask the person if they want some juice till I recovered because nope, didn't think it was gonna go down that fast. Woo! You want some juice? What Kevin? You want some juice? I get you some juice. Maybe some wine. All right. Who's next? Oh, Sherry. We got Sherry coming up. You want to get in on this?
Channel, how is everyone doing?
Oh,
I
we
just wanted to make a few
All
points.
right, how are you?
Good. I wanted to make just a few points. Number one, the algorithms and what we're seeing is dictated by certain powers that be that are pushing an agenda. I'm a content creator and I'm pretty much, just run of the mill content is on board. But I recently put out some information that was absolutely true about Bank of America, and it was just a fact. And they didn't strike me, but they demonetized me on that video quick, fast, and a hurry. And so there are algorithms at play. Even with my content, it's about just credit. On TikTok, I got they shut me down for a second. TikTok is known by the power of a governmental of, China to
Mm-hmm.
push a certain algorithm in the US. So when you're
Yes.
seeing grandmamas twerk, that is purposely being
Yes.
pushed to you that way. So we have to understand that propaganda has been around for centuries and it's in
Mm-hmm.
every government. So us as a people need to know that our problem is on the micro level, where if you want to say African Americans in
Mm-hmm.
this country that has an issue, the micro level, the difference between the little hats, they do have a standard or a code, and their code is, Judaism that they're following. I think the problem with us, number one, the relationship part between men and women with us, and then when we produce children, marriages has to be promoted more, and we need a base of a code. A lot of this is because we got away, whether people like it or not, whatever your faith base is, what that is an agreement on how you should operate. For me, I'm a Christian on how family operates, how you interact with society, and different ways that marriage is governed. So a lot of our problem is there's nobody more influential to you and your children than you and what you base your household on. My children, they're 19, 25. They might listen to certain music, but they never dress that way because I didn't influence them to dress that way. And even when kids do go astray, like the Bible said, train up a child for a way that they should go, and when they get older they won't depart from it. A lot of us, our biggest influence was our parents, whether it be positive or negative. And so with us, we need to start, number one, with relationship between man and woman, promoting marriage, because marriage is more for more financial stability. More wealth is created even in your household. So if you start creating more wealth for your family, people are less desperate to do negative things a lot of times for money, because we're talking about influence culture. Then once we do that, we need to work as a community with one another by starting businesses. But unfortunately, we are in a society where a lot of the institutions we do not control. So we are going to have to appear a certain way to go in, to get income, to establish, and then establish our own. So I believe a lot of our problems is the micro level. A lot of these algorithms of these kids being influenced, because a lot of them don't have a solid thing in their household. And if you're a single parent, you're overworking. You can't monitor everything if you don't have a partnership, in your household. And I understand people co-parent, but it's very hard to establish all of this in two separate households, because you need two functioning parenting there to work as a team. So I think that's our real big issue. We do have propaganda. That's going to always be there.
Yeah.
But it's getting on code on a micro level in our community.
So
Can I
I'll
push
say,
back to that? Oh, go ahead.
hold on real quick. I'll
Word.
say to your point, definitely. So for TikTok, you're absolutely right. That one is, nationally known that they allow their individual employees to dictate what goes viral or not. So that's actually been reported. Y'all look that up. Yeah, employees determine what goes viral, and those employees are influenced by the people in China, like by the Republic of China. So um, they definitely do that, but that's TikTok. That's what they're notorious for. TikTok may not even make it 5 years. They're working on a TikTok Lite now because they understand that the U.S. government is going to ban the entire app in the coming years, and they don't want to have a medium to push their agenda. It's the most popular, currently the most popular social platform in the United States. So that's not going to last that much longer, but that's what they're known for. Now, the other ones. So I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert for no reason or even an expert at all, but I actually know a lot about these algorithms because I'm a gun dealer. I'm a federal firearms licensee and special occupational tax. I market on the internet the hardest thing there is to market on the internet in the world, which is guns. So I had to learn the algorithm science basically on every individual social platform to market my gun classes, to do all of that because they ban everything. Like I have to submit 9 ads to get one approved, right? Change up the way it looks, change the way gun is pointing. So I have to consult with each individual people at Facebook, Instagram, all that to do that. So that's why I know so much about algorithms. And I can tell you, Facebook and IG, the algorithm is us. It's us. It's not the machine. It's not them clicking it. What we consume and click, and I'm a content creator. I know exactly what if the time of day, what's going to get 76,000 views or whatever. The algorithm is us. It has to be. If they controlled it, it would hurt their bottom line, right? So what we consume, what we click on, even what we scroll on and pause will get put in our timeline. I mean, y'all know I'm a what do you call it? When Instagram first came out, I like big boobies. I must have been pausing on all the big booby girls because then I go to my what do you call it? And then there's all titties in my. So it knows to
The
that
explore
detail.
page.
Explore page. I was like, God damn, this thing thinks I'm a freak or something. But the algorithm is us. So I know we talk about like an agenda being pushed, and on TikTok, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. They've already been called out and cited for that. But every other social platform, 99% of that algorithm is what we click on, what we consume, what we buy, what we say shop more on, all of it. It's us because that's how they know how to market more to us. All right, King Spark, you said you got.
Yeah, I had a couple things to say. First off, I think it's very confusing for our children to have to deal with all this sex up front so early, especially with the push to eliminate the gender. I think it's just gonna have them confused and also vulnerable to predators because they don't even know what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be doing, or anything of that nature. Um, Something to what Sherry said. And this just because this I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I don't think there's much accountability in the faith based structure. Let Jesus take the wheel. That ain't. There's no accountability in that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I had something else to say, but I forgot. But anyway, that's all for now.
So why are the Jews on code? What are they following?
Small hats, small hats. The
Yeah.
J's or small hats.
You said
Look,
what are
you
they
know about the
following? You think
algorithm.
it's a
You try to get my show dinged.
No,
Yeah,
no,
they,
I'm sorry.
You know you can't talk about them. They gonna come
but
at me.
but listen,
What is
it's more
what
than
is
just
what is
it's
their
more than just
code?
their religious philosophy. It's more than just their religious philosophy that makes them so powerful. They've been indoctrinated since birth in certain philosophies more so than just the religion, quote unquote. If you read Rabbi Daniel Lapin's book, Thou Shalt Prosper, you understand. If you read, there's a book called the J-ish Phenomenon. If you read that, you'll understand. And these are actually Jays that are talking, and they're telling that, of course, the one is a rabbi. So it's not just the religion, but it's the whole philosophy that they live by from birth, and they've been trained up in since birth. They have a philosophy in economic empowerment. They have a philosophy in usefulness as far as different fields of study, different fields in banking, different things like that collectively work together in a system, and they bring each other up. So all of those things combine to the reason why they are so influential and so powerful in this system.
That's
So
part of
I was gonna say, I was
you
gonna
mean
say,
it's a standard. You mean it's a standard in their community. There's a
yeah,
standard.
exactly.
it's, I'm gonna
And
say,
part of
It's
that,
more than a standard. It's more than a standard.
yeah,
I can kind of elaborate a little bit
it's a
about
way of
what he's
life.
with
And that
to his
what you're
point. What he's
talking
talking about.
about, the money and the way they do with business, what they're required to give back to the community to support certain institutions, they even have their own schools.
Right,
Have
right,
their
right.
own school. So when you're saying the document, that's their faith. Okay. And Rabbi Lakin, that's what he all talked about. I have the book, Thou Shall Prosper. He's talking about the Torah and the laws because those were their law at that time for that nation. So a lot of people just think it's hocus pocus. That was a nation and that was their laws. So when I talk about faith and code, I'm not saying you have to subscribe to Christianity. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there is a code that family and that community, even that you have is in the Muslim community, even if you have the Nation of Islam, a lot of these people are on code and they work together because there is an agreement. That's
Right.
so
Yeah.
so what's wrong with the Christian code? What's wrong with the Christian code
it's
then?
nothing wrong with a
Because
Christian
well,
code.
listen to what
I
I'm saying.
subscribe to it.
What I'm saying is that if black people are doing the worst, right? I believe that black Americans endorse Christianity the most. On a Sunday morning or a Sunday afternoon, if you go to the restaurant, it's not loads of white people in there fellowshipping after Sunday service. It's black folks. So if black folks are endorsing Christianity the most, if there's a church on every corner in the hood, right? Then why is it not being effective?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
black
I got
people
you.
aren't following.
Hang on for a second.
Sparkle had her
I
hand
got
up first.
something.
Wait, Sparkle had her hand up first, y'all.
Yeah, no, she did. She
Y'all
did.
forget that Dr. King was a Christian?
Yeah, yeah,
And
Baptist.
they leave out his reparations plan. So that's number one. Malcolm, they were Nation of Islam. A lot of these people that was influenced, and like I said, had a code that they all work collectively on. And I think you're picking and choosing because a lot of Black people are very triggered by when you say Christianity, which is very weird because Christianity is the largest religion. And that's white folks, honey. That's just not Black people running around doing this. So what I'm just saying is the thing is a code. So this is why that the little hats, because they're all agreeing to one rule of what they are all they all in the corporate are working in. So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, Sparkle.
Okay, so Sparkle, Sparkle.
Okay, so firstly, to answer the question, kids are being affected from all angles. Now, if you look around, firstly from those who were involved with Disney and so on, a lot of their Disney icons have now grown up to be hypersexualized, the Miley Cyruses and all the rest of it. The music industry is attacking it. Even in the education system now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of clips where there's kids coming up to school boards reading some of the books in the libraries that are hypersexual. So this is a problem across the board. Now, to answer the whole thing about Christians on code, I'm a Christian. Now, what I can tell you is this. Unfortunately, only 5% of people who profess to be Christians worldwide have actually read the Bible. So many of them don't really know a lot of what the codes of conduct are for Christians. Just because you go to church every Sunday does not mean you know anything about the faith.
Exactly,
This is why
or
the
abide
Bible,
by them.
Right. This is why the Bible says study to show yourself approved. The majority of Christians have not read the scriptures and they do not know what the ethics are. The ethics definitely push a code of modesty and of being respectful and holding up, righteousness and classiness and all the rest of it. So a lot of these people who are twerking in the club on a Saturday night who go to church on a Sunday don't even know what they're doing because they wouldn't be in the club if they did. So that's the first thing I will say. Now, as far as possible solutions, I think firstly we really need to find ways to sort of safeguard these children. If you allow phones and tablets to babysit your children, you're already going to be in a problem because you're not going to be, as Sherry said, you're not going to be able to monitor everything. You're not going to be able to truly assess exactly what's being seen. And just like you rightly said, TikTok feeds the algorithm to us. But like Mike rightly said, which is what I was pointing to in my previous comments, we feed the other ones. And if we are creating the content that's being pushed that's negative, we need to start at home. Are we leaders or are we followers? Black people love to say that we're the trendsetters, but when it comes to this stuff, they want to say, oh, but we're just following everybody else. If we start in our own homes, look, we can't change the world. That's delusional. But if we start within our own homes and within our own families to set the standard and maintain that standard, people will follow. I was raised with the ethics of, you know who you're from, you know whose you're from, and you know what we expect in this family. And you can't be out here in the street looking some kind of way because you're going to represent me, my family. Like, you need to have a level of conduct that you adhere to, and then those will follow. And the truth is, those that have the most success, and I don't just mean financially, I mean the most successful with their families and all the rest of it, follow a code of conduct, like Sherry was alluding to. You can't be for the streets and be constantly about the bag, about money, and actually think you're going to have a level of standard.
Let's let Jay Randoms get in there, Sparkle. That's the brother has the time out. Let's let Jay Randoms get in there. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, to the question about how kids affected by the oversexualization of the oversexualized culture. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you already pointed out a lot of things already. Whether it's mass media, social media, sometimes even within their own household, with their parents. And how do we, and as far as like a practical thing is, how do we dial that back down about over sexualization. Like, look, okay, sex in itself is not necessarily inherent evil. Without sex, we wouldn't even be here on this planet. Be the end of the human race. What it's about though is that it's like, basically like, content and control. We have kids and stuff, and you can't expose some 5-year-old to full blown out sex and stuff like that. It's about content and control. As people age and mature and kids grow and everything, you got to expose a little. I don't believe in necessarily sheltering every single thing away from them. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. It's about how as they grow and as they age, it's about the maturity levels and everything in which you expose them to. You show them a little bit of something or whatever, or we have discussions about certain things, and then leave it there at their age appropriate group. And then as they get a little older, you evolve and they learn a little bit more. Then you bring in a little bit more, and you bring it in more. Don't try to throw all of this stuff out there at once, because how many times have we seen it with the kid that was sheltered, the preacher kid that was sheltered all his life, didn't see any of this, stuff out there. They go to college and it's all out there in Front Street and wilding out, and they just expose everything and they lose their minds. So it's about, doing it on a practical sense, doing it, a little bit at a time. Like I remember my son is in college right now, and before he went up to college, I talked to him. I said, yeah, I know I can't sit here and say you don't do drugs and don't do these other things, don't do that or whatever, but because I know you gonna be going to school, you gonna be trying to figure out who you are in life and everything else. But watch other people on them drugs before you decide to do some sort of drug or something like that. Participate in some of these other things. Watch other people. Watch what they do first. Watch how they act. Watch how they react. Watch what they do. See what happens when they do it.
Looks like
It's not something you want to participate in.
Looks like they're having
Thank
fun.
you. Wait, hold on. We're gonna let Africa Pop go first. So because she said she's gonna go and then drop down. So we're gonna let her go first, and then 2-minute shot clock. You got it, and then CBN, you got it. Go ahead, Africa Pop.
Thank you. Just shout out to Sherry and Sparkle because I've been loving what y'all been saying, particularly on this topic. Lastly, just want to say that we have to, if we want to change the narrative perspective, have a standard, just like Sparkle and Sherry said. And King Spark, a lot of people who profess Christian or to be a Christian may not be a believer, may say it because they culturally grew up in church, because church culture is a thing, but actually following the tenets of Jesus Christ is something that most people who profess to be Christians do not do. So there is a distinction. And it also, and I'll look in the study, but we can talk for another time. People groups of people who grew up in 2-parent household, who are more traditionally conservative, who have a faith following, tend to do better financially. Their children tend to be more successful. And unfortunately, because Black people are the bottom of the barrel in that list, that's why we are where we are. Back to Mike's original point about having fatherless households. And fatherless households just means that there's the mother, but the absence of the father is present. And most likely people tend to stay together if they're married to take care of the kids and for the kids to grow up with the better probabilities of being successful, building wealth, and all of that. So, to Sherry's point, again, not everyone can be saved. But if we want to do the work to have our children be successful, we have to come together. We have to promote marriage. We have to not make it a scary thing. And then we have to build with other couples who believe in the same things that we believe. And I do believe our children will flourish. Yes, there's a lot of competing factors, but at the end, we can't just lose hope because we know the realities of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, and we
May
appreciate
I
you.
respond
All
to
right,
that real quick?
wait, hold
Okay,
on,
I just got 10 seconds.
hold on,
Go
Spark.
ahead.
Come
Go
on.
ahead. It's cool.
2-minute
It's cool.
shot
It's
clock.
cool. It's cool.
Let them get in there. Go ahead, 2-minute shot clock.
Yeah, I just gonna I guess speak on the top of what I think is Africa Pop. That's her name. Basically, someone said something about the kids. We've been talking about the kids, and I just wanted to say it's not confusing for the kids. It's only confusing because we don't teach them. We don't, it's like sex is taboo. we don't talk about it to them. We don't talk about most kids that look like that have the same complexion as us don't get talked to about sex until about 13, 14, or they find out about it from their friends, or because someone brought a magazine to school, or someone showed them a video. So we need to be accountable for that. I'm coming in offering solutions. First thing to parents, if you're listening, don't wait until you think your kids are old enough. As soon as you think that you stuff starts popping up on TV, talk to them about it. You gotta and we gotta chop the snake off the head off the snake. Just I'm mumbling up my phrases, but anyway, you basically get it, and that's all I wanted to say. And there was something else. Yeah. So just basically doing sexual guidance. So that's my 2 minutes. Bless up.
Bless
If
up.
everyone can keep it short and concise, so everyone can get the point.
Yeah, we got you. CBN Tech Talk. Go ahead, fam. And then go ahead, Spark, after that.
Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. Sparkle, Africa Pop, and Sherry hit it on the nail. I live in Brooklyn, New York. And when you're in New York City, especially in Brooklyn, New York, you see the different ethnic group. The Jewish community don't have too many single-parent households. They got two-parent household for a reason. Not only they had a community, they had a structure in place. That is one of the number one key I've been saying about for the longest. When there's no structure and there's no order, there's no community. If you live in Brooklyn, you know that they have their own economic outside the United States economic, which means when they had the pandemic, they had the warehouse unlocking, move all their stock resources and share that to the family who are partaking in their community and make sure they're well off before anybody else. And I see that a lot. And when I see that, the first thing I ask myself, how come we can build the same structure they had? Reason why, when they're not family, a single parent household is not a family. Let's just stop that right there and there. Fathers are meant to put structure and order in the household. The mother are to tend to the kid and guide them to the right direction. When you have multiple families come together, they build a community that not only you can invest into one another, you can build your economy from there right off the bat. Because let's be real, Brooklyn is owned about maybe 80 to 90% by Jewish people. How were they able to do that? Let that sink in. They use their money together in the pool to buy property all over the place and build their value up. I've been saying it for so long. As an African in New York City, when you being naive to the truth and the fact, and yes, Shay was correct, they got their own school about 50 plus. 50! Elementary school, middle school, and high school. Which means they had their own curriculum. We can't complain about a public school if we're not building our own. I've been telling you about last year, you need your own institution. Which means your own bank, your own hospital, your own grocery, your own school, and your own media. The only media we have that it's our own we can claim is Roland Martin Unfiltered. I've been funding that platform for 4 years straight with $50. Everybody say you need your own. But when you have your own, do you support it? That's the question to ask. Because all this argument, when you have your own, when you have your own, you know it's not perfect. Join in, invest in it, hold them accountable. When you don't do that, then we can't say X, Y, and Z because these people, I watch them. These people work most of the time in corporate America. Either they own the company, the notable who own the company, they got job and position in that place, they take their money and invest back in the community, and that money circulates over and over more than 20 times. So if you want the thing for ourselves, you have to stop the nonsense. You can build your own trade school. Not everybody has to go to college, but you can build your trade. Hello. Either you do it on a mechanic, you're building carpentry, if needed.
But we had that though, CBN. But King Spark was next. We appreciate you sharing. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, King Spark, and then we're gonna open it up.
Yeah, I just believe that Africa Pop's comments were just like a disingenuous contradiction, because if you're gonna try to cite that most of the Christians aren't really like super Jesus followers, and then come back and say You use a stat, I will argue that the stat was made by most of the Christians just checking boxes, that those are the actual Christians that ain't the actual Christians. That's all I got.
I'll be
All right.
careful with that. Trust me. I work in the
Yeah,
church,
but
so I know
hold
what
on,
I'm talking about.
fam. Let Trey haven't spoke for a long time. Trey, you got anything to say real quick?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, one of the reasons why our community is as divided as it is because there's a lot of freedom and people are able to make the choices that they want to make. I think one of the things when we look at the small head community, there may be freedom, but it's not the same sort of freedom that we have. That there's sort of a notion that when they're raised from the young, this is how things go. And if you don't do it this way, you're out. And we don't really have that in our community. And I can understand why we don't have that in our community because we don't like to kick people out. I mean, if you look at your immediate family, there's some screw ups in a lot of people's immediate family. Do you kick them out of the family? No, we don't because they're family, right? So at some point in time, our community, in order to get on the same page, we have all got to buy into the same message, the same vision. We've all got to understand that there's going to be tenements of the vision and the message that we're not going to like. Malcolm and Martin didn't agree on everything. Okay, there's certain things you're just not gonna like. But what is for the best in our community? Well, the best thing for us to do is to be together. We got to figure out a way for all of us to figure out. Okay, listen, I don't like this part, but I do like that part, so I can get with this. I can work. I can work through this. And until that happens, we're just going to continue to keep having division, 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 which ultimately weakens our community, and it hurts the kids in the long run.
Yeah,
No
I got
doubt
a
that. But
no,
you
I
got
got
a Grant.
I got a 2 minute answer. Before
Okay.
everybody else.
And then
Goes.
Grant was in the back for a long time.
Oh yeah,
Into Black Dragon.
he can go. Yeah, have him go. Go ahead, Grant.
Grant, go ahead, fam.
Yeah, how are you guys doing? I wanted to touch a little bit on the sort of over-sexualization of Black kids. I do want to sort of point out something that I think gets lost in this is, Black girls tend to be adultified earlier in their adolescence. And so if you begin to see young girls as teenagers or young adults, you're more likely to treat them that way. I do think all kids are getting the same sort of sexual images, and they all have almost equal access to it. So then you have to ask yourself, why do African Americans more likely are going to engage in sexual activity earlier? Why they tend to have have more partners before they get to the age of 18, 19. And then we have to sort of look inward and say, are there certain situations that are causing that? I would say a good chunk of it is potentially we aren't teaching kids early enough about, number one, they are maturing earlier. Young girls and young Black boys are hitting puberty at an earlier age by about a year or so. And so they're going to more likely be hormonal and going to engage in more sexual activity earlier, especially if they're going through puberty earlier. So how do you capture those young people who now are deranged by their hormones? Instead of just saying, well, single mothers teach your kids. Well, single mothers already exist. We can't wish it out of existence. They exist, and they exist on a mass scale. How do you get to these young kids who are now being oversaturated with sort of sexual images and be able to give them the tools in order to sort of not ruin their lives, whether it be getting pregnant early, whether it being having multiple partners too early, and it really affects their maturity. I do think there are things that we can do a little bit better around educating young people around their sort of sexual promiscuity and giving them the tools to better navigate a world that's going to be obviously hypersexualized. And so I really put that to the panel and saying, how do we get to those kids earlier to give them the tools not to engage versus saying we're going to shame them? Because the difficult part is shaming a 13-year-old is far different than shaming a 30-year-old. A 13-year-old is not quite equipped to understand shame the quite way that maybe a 30-year-old should be able to.
Well, Grant, there are resources because I do work in the to answer your quick point, and then I'll speak to King Spark, and then I'll drop down. There are resources. The problem is that many kids either are not aware, or whoever the parental figure over that person may be limited to bring them to the resources, or don't care to bring them to the resources available. And so maybe it's a marketing or publicity issue, but there are resources available. There are so many grants and programs that in statewide and specifically federal wide that are run that just people are not made aware of or do not seek out. Real quickly for King Spark. So I am open to being wrong about Christians, but what I will say is, if they were people who profess to believe and follow the tenets of Christianity, there would be less children without that are brought into the world without a mother and a father. There would be more modesty, like Sparkle said. There would be more structure, and there would be more of an outcry when people do things that are outside of what we believe. Not to say that those people cannot be forgiven or that they are just shamed to be out forever. But I know, because, I consider myself Nigerian American. If you do something that makes our family or community bad, you will be messing up the word, but set aside,
Ostracized.
ostracized. Thank you. Like Trey said, there's no because and not to say that everyone is just perfect, but for the ones who are who tarnish, they are known to be the tarnishment. They are not known to be like, oh, so and so person had so many kids out of wedlock, or so and so has this baby out of. It's not a good thing. It's not looked at as that it's okay. So I'll say that. Peace out. And again, I am a believer. I love Jesus, but there is a standard for believers that now people have made God to be whoever they want God to be. And that's just not how it is in the Christian faith.
I believe that
Wait, hold on,
Hang on,
King
hang on,
Spot,
King
King Spot,
Spot.
hold on. Enter Black Dragon. Well, what's next, man?
All
Y'all
right.
gotta let.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a 2 minute.
She said she was gonna drop down, but Enter Black, and I'm going after Enter Black Dragon. So go
All
ahead.
right. So I got a 2 minute answer because everyone's asking kind of the same question of how we avoid, children being exposed to, over-sexualized culture. And I would say my answer would be the answer that's going to fix a lot of different things. So the reason why we talk about different communities have structure is because they've never, at some point in time, the other community may have been robbed of it, but they've never lost like their tradition, right? They've never been renamed. They've never been enslaved. They've never been. They've never had the things happen to them that happened to us. So when we got robbed of our community, and that includes several things. I wrote it down. Politics. We had our own politics, religion, sex, war, law, education, entertainment, and government. We had all these things before we got to America, and we lost all these things, and we're having to be under somebody else's rule. So how we're going to solve it is the problem that we face. But I think it all involves establishing what everyone else has established in their community, and that's and I refer to it as government. Government meaning we establish the way that Black people move or African people move. We have our own type of religion that we all get behind, our own sex practices that we get behind, war, law, education, entertainment, and government inside of government. And what happens is when we have children, we instill in them the values that and practice traditions that we establish here in America, whatever we all decide to agree upon. So that's just how we're going to solve the problem moving forward. We can't undo all the mistakes and things like that that are going on today, but we can make a better tomorrow. And how we fix that also is by establishing our own boundaries on agriculture, on manufacturing, our own services, our own food, our own manners and mannerisms, and that's what's going to go under our tradition. So we need to establish our own government, and then we need to pass that along through tradition.
Okay, so I was next, though. Trigger Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask him a question real quick. Did you say we need to establish our own sex?
Yeah, when we talk about like sex practices, I mean, think about it. We have Kama Sutra, that they got their own thing. They have their own sex practices in different religions. I mean, things are allowed, things are not allowed. But
Does
yeah, I think
it need to be upgraded?
You don't think
Are you saying
that
it
you
needs
don't
to
I'm not
do
saying
something different?
Wait. Go ahead.
You don't think that we
go ahead.
already got that, and that's a big part of the problem to begin with? You don't think we already got that?
Got what? Wait. As far as sex practices?
Listen. As far as I know, and I'm just gonna say this.
Go ahead.
Most Black boys are infatuated with big booties because of 3 corn stars. It like all boils down to like 3 corn stars that everybody trying to do. Like we're infatuated with certain things. I think we've been way past our own sexual preference, type thing in the black
But as a
community. But I like
standard, right? As a standard, as far as like what I mean, when I say sex, I don't mean just the act. I do mean dating. I
hey,
do mean
what I want to
courting. I
know,
do
what I
mean
want to know
marriage.
in the chat, what I want to know in the chat is which 3 you think I'm talking about. But Israel, go ahead. You next. Who can guess? Who in the chat can guess?
One of them is gonna be Pinky.
I don't even know because I like nice posteriors, and I've never really been a corn star partaker. I don't know much about it, but let me say this though.
Neither do I. I'm just
no, I'm being dead ass.
laying
I don't. I
history
really no. I'm being dead ass. I really don't. But so listen. There's a couple of things. Yo, I had the fortune or unfortunate to live in Arizona when I was a young kid. And when I lived in Arizona as a young kid, I lived around 99.9% white people. As a matter of fact, I was a young kid, and I remember the one black girl who was in my whole entire school to this day. That's how many white children there were. And in this school and around these white children, where there were many, many, many white children, they used to play a game called hide and go get it. I've seen more little bald white coochie as a little kid than I ever seen any black women. Let me just say that up front. So when y'all saying this over sexualization and this over this over that, let me tell you from my personal anecdotal experience, the little white children were far more sexual, far more promiscuous, far more mischievous in that area than any black children I've ever known in my life. And that is my word is bond on my life. And I've lived the experience. Hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
I've lived the experience of living in Arizona, different parts, Tempe, Mesa, and Phoenix, and then being brought back, because I'm from Brooklyn, brought back to Brooklyn, New York, and Brownsville. And trust and believe the kids were way more sexual in Arizona than they were in Brooklyn, New York. Way
you know
100 times more sexual.
I actually agree with you. So I grew up around white kids until high school. I don't know what the hell we did that for, but I grew up around white kids, and I'm actually on record saying that white girls are actually far more sexually, they experiment more and earlier. But we're not talking about what's done either behind closed doors or in private or in small groups.
Okay.
We're talking about what's marketed to the mainstream, and when it's ultimately down to the stats, who births children more before the age of 18.
Okay, fair. But
that's
now
what I'm talking. I was like, when we get down to the granular part, everybody's gonna have a different experience. But the people that lead the nation per capita in percentage on births before the age of 19 are black girls. So it's like when everybody else just playing. Even I know white girls. You know what they used to do when I used to go to school with them? Nah, we can't do, but Gawkinator 20,000.
Nah, but okay. So to add to this, and this was another point that I wanted to make. I think you almost made me forget, but just real quick. Let me see. Damn, it's a good ass point too. Hold on. Let me try to remember. White people, black people. Damn, Trigger Mike. Shit.
Israel, while you think about that,
I forgot about that. I forgot the point. It's a really good point.
While you think about that,
can I say that white women have the most? I mean, white abortions is the highest. Are we not going to talk about that though? So it's a difference between choosing to have a child and not to abort a child.
However, Sherry,
rebuttal. Who's smarter then?
Wise, it's black.
I was gonna say, who's smarter? Should black women be getting white girls getting abortions because they likely don't have fathers for the babies, or black girls keeping them without fathers? What's worse?
The white girls deleting those children is worse.
I would agree with that as well.
The white girls deleting those children is far worse than the black women who have the children.
Ain't no way.
Yes, yes,
Ain't
it's far
no
worse.
way.
It's far worse.
It's
It's far
no,
worse.
it's not.
It's far
It's
worse.
not
It's not
far
even
worse.
close.
It's not
It's
even
not
close.
even close.
It's not even
yo. It's
close,
not
bruh.
even close. It's far
It's
worse.
not even
No,
close.
this is
It's
Fight,
far worse
fight
to
Club
delete
now.
a
No
child. Yo, it's
way.
far worse to
Stop it.
delete a child and cut them
Stop
off
it.
from what they could be than to allow a child to come into the world and maybe they have to struggle a little bit, but they could become something great. It's
He's
far.
right.
Do
It's
you not
worse.
know? Wait, hold on, hold on, hold on,
You said
hold on. Do
maybe
you
they
not
have to
know? Hold
struggle.
on, hold on, hold on.
Maybe they
Do
have to
you not
struggle.
know? Wait, do you not? Hold on, Trey.
Maybe they
Trey,
have to
hold on,
struggle.
hold on, Trey.
Maybe.
Do you,
It's
Trey?
not a
Hold on.
maybe.
Do you not know that the
Trey,
Honorable
Israel and
Minister
Trey, go
Louis
ahead.
Farrakhan? Do you not know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan could have been one of those children? Do you not
Murder
know that
victim.
there's several
give
other
a
prominent?
damn.
There's several other
What does
prominent
that
men.
have to do
Wait,
with
hold
the
on.
price of rice in China,
And
bruh?
what it has to do with is somebody who has been so impactful to the world, someone who has given so much to the world, could have been one of those deleted
So
children.
every non-deleted
Not
baby
every
could
non.
be
See,
could be
no,
a
not
Louis
every
Farrakhan.
non.
Is that what
Not
you're
every
saying?
non. No,
Hang
not
on,
every non.
because hang on, because I think we're getting into the rabbit hole of abortion, but let's take abortion out of it, because if we illegalize abortion and there is not another abortion allowed, there are still going to be children that die.
But it's still, we want to go back on code. The reason
Right,
why
right.
they're doing that is a societal standard for them. Okay. So I want to just get back to the code, you guys. Everybody's going on a tangent about Christian. I worked in insurance. Asians have the same code. So if you're dealing with Chinese people, they only buy even insurance from other Chinese people.
But hold on,
So
Sherry. That
all
was my point.
all I
Hold on,
just
Trigger
gotta
Mike. That was my
say
point. I remember
is
my point real quick.
and what the Grant asked, well, what to cure that? The code, it don't care about your hormones. People been having children. Our great grandmamas had children at 14 and was married. What it is the self-control. Okay. The code, even in India, they have a code where you have to marry somebody. These codes, and everybody get triggered. Oh, Christian, no, we're just talking about a standard.
But this was my point. Trigger Mike, real quick.
Civil rights movement.
Hold on, real quick, Sherry. Hold on, real quick.
Boycotted because we were
This was
on
my point.
code,
Hold on, Sherry. This is my point, though. This is my point, real quick. And Trigger Mike, I remembered it, and this is an excellent point. Check this out. This whole idea of everybody working together is all black people working together is delusional at best. Let me tell you why. First of all, if you say we come from Africa, Africa is a continent. As we all know, there are many different countries in Africa, right? These many different countries have many tribes within the same country. Nigeria, for example, there's at least 3 to 4 different tribes, main tribes, and I'm sure there's many more main tribes that speak.
Correction, it's more than 50.
Okay, more than 50, but I'm talking about the 4 big ones. Okay, more than 50. More than 50. So you guys know that are Nigerian, that certain Nigerians don't even get along together. They don't even speak, they don't even get along together, right? They have tribal wars, and back in the days, they have different traditionals that are different traditions that are different. They have different ideologies, they have different mindsets. Some of them even have different deities and different names of deities. So this idea and ideology that black people can all come together as one collective and have the same mind and the same ideals is delusional at best. What we need to do is more so what other people were saying, like Anton, find your tribe, have your tribe of people get together, and y'all like-minded people get together and make a plan. But this idea of having everybody come together and this whole kumbaya moment, it ain't gonna happen.
What happened in the civil rights movement?
It wasn't all the black people. It was a whole bunch of black people against
did we not get on code to boycott? Didn't we have a code, and even you had Muslims and Christians working together?
Hold on, Sherry. No, I mean, Israel is actually absolutely right. You've heard me say it in a more controversial sense. We don't need unity. We need more division. All right. The people who ready to get their stuff together need to go over there, get their stuff together. You know what's better than everything or more effective than all this stuff we talk about? A good example. So remember, what I said is that black people love shiny shit. They love the best sneakers. They love the best. When they see a group of people, a faction of black people that are winning so hard, and then everybody's talking about them, and they see them in the newspaper, and the dad is the front, and they be like, "Ooh, what outcomes are these kids getting?" They're gonna want to be a part of that shit, like those people giving out free sneakers. That's what I'm doing on my side. My colony solid. My people over here solid. We get in groups, 200, 300 at a time. All dads there, all moms there. We giving awards to the kids. And what do all the people say? Hey, how can I join your group, bro? I mean, I'm trying to get down. They love shiny shit. Make it shiny for them, but keep yourself separate. Because if you let the bad apple in that mother,
they ruin a whole bunch.
Listen, all right. Let me get.
I'm glad you said that.
300.
I'm glad you said that because Kevin Tower mentioned that several times. People didn't catch on. He said there had been a division going on for so long called the brain drain.
Mm-hmm.
Me, the lame, the corny, which I am a black nerd. I'm proud to be a black nerd. All the educated people are leaving the hood behind on purpose.
On purpose?
Reason why? They realize you cannot save them. Only mix
they
with
don't
people
be saved,
with the same mindset. You link together, collaborate together, and build something new. I remember on Mandel's show, on a project, they talk about Black Water. There are two actually going on in the United States. One in Arkansas and one in Tennessee. There's another group of family who put in money to buy a huge amount of acre of land to build their own community in Georgia. Why that's happening? They want to separate themselves from the garbage. It has to be done. If you don't do it, what's the point of it? Throughout last year, I've been telling people you need to burn down your value system. Your value system is corrupted. It's done deal. You don't have a community. You have a people, but you don't have a community. Because if I go by dictionary definition, y'all lose. How you think you have a culture that constantly changes almost 5 to 10 years, every 5 to 10 years, and never consistent? It doesn't add up. When it comes to pushing the highly educated people, I got picked on in public school in the country, which is the known thing, because I was a nerd. I was a lame. Now, if I was to be the ultra nerd, which I should have been, I wouldn't be here. I would be high up there running multiple companies, doing crazy stuff, and only bringing ultra along. The problem is right now, the people that make fun of in this country, in other countries, they're on a high on a plateau. Talk about what I'm talking about. In our country, the highly educated people are the ones that bring worship, not the lame, dumbass people.
Oh, that's like, don't get me started on that. It's like,
talk about I have to because we're both African, but both.
But that's the thing, though. We have to listen.
Gonna let me
listen. There's power. Listen, there's power and concentrated. It's power, and when you have stuff that's a focus and a concentrated focus, when you have too many people that is not like-minded, that is not on the same accord, you cannot get anything done. It's like freaking trying to herd cats. It's like trying to herd cats. But if you have a singular focus and you have a singular focus with even a little bit of people, you can make some magic happen. You can make some powerful things happen.
Well, I'm like, don't.
Who's that
statement.
that needs to mute?
I was gonna say, don't debunk your own statement, because there are, like you said, even the people that you're talking about, like Nigerians, small hats or whatever, there are divisions, small divisions in those groups, and people still got to get it together. Not to mention, Black American people are the most influential Black people in the world and the richest. So ain't no more excuses out here for them, bro.
I'll give it a quick tip before I come down.
Now, great topic. Derek Graham, $2. Appreciate that. Mr. Marriage, Politics, and Sports says the old Black community is dead and there is no saving it. The challenge is finding Black folks who want to build a future, just like we said. The Sophisticated Jerk, $10. Trey is right. In order to establish a community, you first have to have standards, rules, and principles. I feel like I stand for that. Then you have to enforce them and separate them from negativity. Do you know what I like about Anton? And he says this shit, and like, I know some women hate it, but I love it, because he be like, I'm perfect. I'm perfect. When it comes to the shit that you're supposed to do, I'm perfect. And that, I'm arrogant. You know, Nigerians, we're arrogant. But he might as well be Nigerian. Because when you do what you're supposed to do and walk that line and stay glued to those principles and standards, that is what makes people want to follow. We keep trying to build on a corrupt foundation and wonder why that shit keep falling apart. I ain't building no foundation on Future. I ain't building no foundation on Lori Harvey or Cardi B being in the White House talking to black people. Get their ass out of there. I'm not even gonna say that on
Not
YouTube
even
because
Nick Cannon. Not even Nick Cannon either.
not even Nick Cannon. Come on, Hey, Miss Parker. $5. Why y'all think there is a fight to stop abortions? It ain't about us. They are declining in numbers. Oh, they said it. They bold now. Marriage, politics, and sports. $20. Appreciate that. The issue is black women have more of a percentage, I guess, wise than white women. So per capita, they do get more abortions. So in number, white women get more. Per capita, black women get more. So like by far, and lead in the number of multiple. So what are we talking about? I forgot that stat. That is true. White people are going to do more of most things because there are more of them. But by percentage, we do the greatest amount of bullshit in this country
And let me say this.
it's not supposed to be done.
I want to point to Israel. Yes, we have three major tribes, but even though we have three major tribes, the younger generation behind us are changing the norm. You give a perfect example, and this is a true story. My classmate, everybody know his father, name is Lawrence. The man passed away. My father know who he is. The man took his father car dealership, upgraded to the point where he actually manufacturing car, truck, SUV, and bus. Got five major locations in Africa. You only got two other rivals, one in the country, one outside the country. The first of a kind, fully owned black. And he told me while in high school what you want to do. I challenged him. I still have the direct number. He's a multi-billionaire, but we talk from time to time. But I told him, you come here, don't let me know you're here. Just go by your own thing. Let me stay under the radar because I don't want to be pulling clout. My brother do well. I salute him. I celebrate him, and I keep it pushing. I chase after my own. Check
Can
my
I
know
ask a
that
question?
they have Nigeria. We put ourselves to be better.
Can I ask a question for
Go
you
ahead.
guys that are Nigerian and African? I know you guys have separate tribes and whatnot, but is there a council? Like, is there a council for the tribes? Like, for instance, say there's 10 different tribes, but
Yeah.
there's a council, and
Yeah.
each
Oh
tribe
my
sends
God, there are so
Yeah.
many councils.
Yeah.
There are
Okay, so
so many
the reason
councils.
why I'm asking that question is I'm against division to a degree. I'm okay with people following, their tribe and following the people that they identify with the
Mm-hmm.
most. But I also think there still has to be a singular vision amongst all of the the
You're right.
divisions, which
You're
is why
right.
I'm asking. Which is why I'm asking, is there a council?
So
Yes.
yeah.
It
So
is.
let me say this because then we got to get to the next question. But I'm gonna mute you just because there's some background noise, CBN. But remember, I said a community is not a group of individuals. That's what most black people actually try to explain it as. When they say we all need to come together, no, the hell we don't. A community is a group of groups or a group of families, more specifically. So you find your tribe. That's a good thing that you said. You find your tribe that has a majority of your beliefs, and the heads and the leaders of that tribe congregate to make, like EBD said, a government of some sort to say this is the all our kids gonna do it this way because this is what's best for all our tribes, or really just for us as Africans or African Americans or whatever. And then they go back to their tribe and they got to deal
Yeah.
with each other. And then they come together.
Exactly.
So that is what
Exactly.
we need more of a
But it's
collective as. Yeah.
Well, to answer Trey's question, specifically me growing up, it was not even just it was all the way down to local government. So I'm Nigerian. My ethnicity is Igbo, and within Igbo land, I'm from Anambra State, and in Anambra State, there's a local townspeople called Umodioka. I have them congested today, and for there's Umodioka local government. So all the people who immigrated from Nigeria, who lived in Houston, Texas, shout out to you, Trigger Mike, because I'm originally from the H. That's like third Lagos behind New York.
It
And
is.
I'm from
that
Lagos, just to let you know.
oh, okay. And so all the Igbo people from that state, from that area, would meet and congregate and talk about how we can support not only our people back home in that specific area, but also the people in in Houston, with who has a business that someone needs to support, or who needs help with their immigration papers, or who needs to have a child's party. So every Saturday me and my siblings, or however often they would have that meeting, while the adults talk, the children would be in their space playing with one another. Again, this is a very specific group. It is not everyone who is Igbo. It's not everyone from a number state. It is from the specific towns, place that they grew up in, who decided to participate in these weekly meetings to support that area back in Nigeria. So to trigger Mike's point, it's not everybody that's going to come together. It could be certain people from Oklahoma and Oklahoma City in a neighborhood in Oklahoma City that say, hey, we're going to do something for our community if you want it to work. And then from there, we could have bigger meetings with different people within that area and then have it be state level. And then if it needs to be Igbo people, then Igbo people, but it has to start locally with your community in a certain block or in a certain area, and then it grows out. That's what I grew up in, being in America.
But isn't
And
that
I'm glad you said that same thing happened here in
gonna
New York City.
always have
Hold on.
classism in
So
everything? You got white,
Cherry,
but then
listen,
you have
and
the white
Cherry,
elites, and you got poor
this is
white
what.
trash.
So Cherry, let me make a statement. It's gonna sound so misogynistic. Please don't take it that way. This is why men rule the world. This is why men run the world. Every time women run something like the matriarchies, y'all say there's supposed to be all equality and all no classism, it is impossible because if one man decides to compete against everybody, he's going to end up owning everything. If one group of men decide, forget this, we don't want to live and we want to take everything, you have now just created a society of weak ass men.
I'm not saying I'm in agreement. I'm just saying there's always going to be classism, even with those code of ethics.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
There's no way to stop
always
class.
going to have
There's no
the
way.
elites, and because we're already living under a code, y'all. In any state that you have a rule of conduct, a rule of law, and that goes from state to state. You have federal, so you already have a code of conduct. I just can't go out and just unlife somebody without a certain reason. That's all I'm just saying. That's a code, but you're gonna have classism always. I'm just saying for us to have, and the shame of not having children, it's got to be some kind of repercussions, like ostracization for that person not participating, and generally it's going to be connected with your economics. So when we go back to the Jays, they all have to work with and support each other business. If they need an accountant, it's going to be a J accountant. If they're doing institutions, is that because I have heard them, they all go to the same synagogue, and then you'll be shunned if you burn a business deal. So, and you have elites with them. So I'm not against what you're saying. I'm a very rational.
And I get it. Let me respond to that.
I'm just saying a code of conduct.
Hold on. CBN, before you go, really quickly, we need to be clear about something. We don't have a code. We have a set of laws. That's why you're able to do what you do. And then the laws hold you in consequence. That's different than a code. A code would be that you wouldn't even do it to begin with. That's all I want to say.
Now, what you're saying, I fully get. This is why I said before in past panel, we have the core generational wealth. You might know this very, very well. We have family who build our wealth and pass it out to the next generation. But before the young generation get it, they got to earn it. It's one thing to earn it, but you can also lose it. Which means you don't tarnish the last name. You don't put shame to the last name. You don't embarrass the last name. This is why the Jewish community are so super strong. They hold their last name high up there like it's God to them. And the reason why that happened, because they want to make sure they lead down a strong legacy to the next generation. That's why Nigerians we know what Africa Part said, it's also done here. But they've been doing this since the early 80s. And they had it down packed to the point whereby they pull the money together. They go into meetings to the point where they want to build business back to the country. And that's what's been going on for the longest. Black people can do the same exact thing, but it's not about following the law. You have to have a strict code that will hold everybody's foot to the fire with no excuses.
Who wants to join? Yes.
That's the problem. Because I tell people that a Jewish man living next to us because he broke the code. He married to a black woman who they kick him out. They were like, you gotta go. We're not having it.
But I would just say one thing that I think I keep hearing is the notion that black, which if you just say everyone in Africa is black and every black person in America is black and black is all from the same black place.
Yeah,
that's just insanity. You wouldn't say that about Germans and someone from England. They're two vastly different groups. And so what you're expecting is Germans and English to act the same. And just because they live in Europe, or that someone who lives in Japan is going to operate the same way that someone lives in Thailand because they come from same Asiatic heritage. Black people ultimately are so different in a lot of ways. Africa is the most diverse continent on this earth. We already know that. You have some of the smartest people in the world, you have some of the dumbest, you have some of the tallest, you have some of the shortest. It is true. And even within Black Americans, not all Black Americans are necessarily from the West African slave trade, at least directly to Africa. Jamaicans obviously were part of that slave trade, but completely different culture. To broadly say all Black people should get together is probably the most insane thing. And it's hard to say that they abide by some code. The reality is we already have in-group, out-groups. We are an in-group within your social structure, and you should live relatively okay within your social structure. I think Nigerians are a great example. Nigerians are one of the most successful ethnic group in America. And there are obvious reasons why. They are not ill-affected by racism in the way that Black Americans are. At least they don't have those perceptions. They tend to they're not ill-affected by rap music. They're culturally, they don't have those things are not coming along the process. So then you have to ask yourself, is it the system that's holding African Americans back, generally speaking? Is it some lack of code? No, it really is better understanding that there is a difference. White people, as we talk about them, we make the assumption that they are all equally the same. They're not. Wealthy white people do not look at poor white people the same way. They just discard them.
True.
They treat them as if they don't exist. And so you imagine for wealthy Black Americans, or middle-class Black Americans, their lives are relatively good. When you talk about poor Black Americans, you're talking about a cohort of people whose lives are completely are impacted by a lot of different things. We can't keep conflating that all Black outcomes are directly related to Black people, because there are a ton of Black people who are succeeding. And I know we're not talking about abortion, but I want to make this point because it'll be as crystal clear to everyone. To say that Black Americans have more abortions per capita is a true statement.
Say deletions, fam. Deletions.
Sorry. But to make this part more clear to everyone, African American, the most likely to get into a deletion is poor people. If African Americans comprise a higher percentage of their population that is poor, they're more likely to have higher rates of deletions.
That is true.
So we can't just make these assumptions that poverty isn't the biggest component of what's happening to this cohort of people. And so I think we need to solve the problem of getting young kids educated and getting them to understand that generationally you will continue to be impoverished, versus saying that there is a complete ineffectiveness of Black Americans, because Black Americans are successful. No one on this panel has said that they're poor. No one on this panel has said that they are uneducated. Everyone on this panel has well articulated a position, and I can see the chat is full of a ton of smart Black people. Why were we not affected by it? Because we are relatively educated. We are of a middle class. Then the question bears, what happens to the people who are not able to come along on this journey with us? And I think we need to start having a conversation about those people versus saying that all Black people lack some code, or we all need to be Christian.
I got some pushback, Trigger, because
we can't even push back. I gotta get out of here. So we're gonna get Fantasy Island. What a name! How you doing, Fantasy Island? You got something on this?
Suspect name.
Yes, I'm sorry. So Fantasy Island girl, I have a Fantasy Island Rentals, so I just added the girl on the end. But I just wanted to speak on the fact that I think we're trying to understand each other, and we're trying to make it seem like it has to be a huge community of us united and on the same page. But I honestly don't believe that. I agree with the other gentleman that said it has to be an influential section of us that are focused on the right topics, focused on pushing the community forward. And that is what's going to help us move forward as a culture. And I think a lot of times we hang our responsibilities on the artists because they have the most influence, right? However, they are this much of the Black community. They're such a small percentage. They don't even really relate to us as a whole. Even no matter how good or bad you're doing, they can't really relate to us because they're completely removed from the issues that we're experiencing in the Black community. So I think we should be empowering our activists in our local communities to make sure that they know that we're there with them, we're pushing with them, have more meetings like they have the community meetings, and really try to be more involved intersectionally. And then I think that'll help spread the message, spread that we're more unified than what I'm seeing now. And maybe other people are seeing more, but I'm not seeing as much unity as I was expecting. So I think as long as we are focused on coming together, because at the end of the day, we all know the main issues that we're struggling with in the Black community. That's basically tearing down our reputation, our growth, our options. So as long as we address those issues first, I'm pretty sure everything else we can add on to. We just need to hit the major things.
Well said. Mr. Moore, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What you got on it?
Awesome. So great topic of discussion. Are we over sexualized? The answer, like plain Jane answer, is of course yes. And I think everyone kind of touched on that, I think, in a way that was very constructive. We need moral law, we need moral code. And honestly, it gets frustrating when we have certain discussions, not saying that we did this or you all did this, but some of the nails, like some nails you just got to hit on the head. You can't, as the saying goes, pussyfoot around certain issues. You got to hit the nail on the head and just call right, wrong, wrong. I think that's a more effective way of dealing with
Black and
certain
white.
issues that pertain to morality. When we're talking about morality and this concept of like over sexualization, a lack of morals, etc., like you have to avoid gray. It's better to make it black and white. You know, that's how you would want to teach a child. Exactly as you said, yeah. That's how you'd want to teach a child, is just certain behavior is a plain Jane no. It's a clear no. This is clearly wrong, and that needs to be clearly understood for the children at a young age. So that's what I wanted to say about that. But I think more so what drew me into this conversation um, is along the lines of what Fantasy Island just spoke about. I think that the Black community, the Black American community specifically, is actually a lot more united than a lot of people think. It's just that the united people kind of exist in smaller pockets. Like they don't, it's not as well known. So I'll give you an example. Locally, where I'm from, there's a guy um, who was an athlete, a professional athlete, and he came back and established a charter school uh, that is very popular within the Black community here. Like when you look at the student population, these are kids, elementary school kids, and when you look at the population of that school, you know, we're talking 80-90% Black children. Now they accept anyone, but this is something that has become something that is looked at very positively within the local community here. And so the Black community, right, is doing things here, right? And I think that that's a model that can be followed in other places. And I think if other communities, if the leadership within those communities, particularly those Black men and women who have the financial resources to make things happen, because this is the problem that, and again, this is the problem that I see, is that when you have Black folks, Black Americans who have the financial means to make certain things happen, and they just sit on the sidelines or do nothing, or they're just comfortable and content in the suburbs or wherever they live, totally disassociated from what's going on with the majority of Black people in the actual Black community, right? They're totally disconnected and they don't do anything. That's where you start having issues. But when you got brothers and sisters who have the ability and the means to make things happen, and they do it, they actually take steps to make things happen. That is when you see an impact within the Black community. It shouldn't take, of course, a poor Black activist, or I'm not gonna say poor, but someone who's not wealthy can also make things happen and do it as well. And that's great. And salute to the brothers and sisters who do that. But things can be done so much easier. It could be so much smoother if we had the support from brothers and sisters who have the means to make things happen. Um, and I get it. I get that a lot of people, when you get your education, your money, whatever it is, you don't really want to be, and we're just gonna keep it 100. It seems like a lot of black folks who have it don't really want to be associated with the black community.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to judge that. I'm not here to judge that. It is what it is. But you can still support brothers and sisters who have a game plan, who have something that a vision, if you will, for the
And they
community.
but this is the unfortunate thing. To his point, they do. But look at a Deion Sanders, right, is a prime example. Or look at a Nipsey Hussle, God rest his soul, is a prime example. Unfortunately, or a Lorenzen White, God rest his soul. Right, excuse me, God rest his soul. Like, unfortunately, a lot of times when the people of means do, a lot of black people do give back to the community and do go back to the community. But unfortunately, they're looked at as pariahs, and they're looked at as people who that people want to make victims out of. People want to take advantage of them. People want to take what they have, and it's crazy that it's like that, but unfortunately it's like that.
Let me speak to that. I understand where you're coming from. Here what the problem is. It's their ideology. I remember on the other panel before, people want to talk about Tyler Perry, but Tyler Perry used his resource to build Black Hollow, but inside Black Hollow, he built a trade school to educate the young girl and those who are
Stop
homeless
it.
to get
He's
back
a
on their 2 feet.
horrible example. Don't use that guy.
I know.
Don't use that
get
guy.
I get it. What the mean that he took to get there, I get it. I did not like it. But the resource he had to do what he needed to do what he needs to be better, I get it, I understand. Because we're in a society where we know this very, very well. There's no easy path to great success to get the resource and the fund to do what you need to do. I can't complain about what he did, but what he did afterward, I say, no, I respect that. LeBron James did the same exact thing. He took his resource, took his finance, built a charter school. Now he built a charter school, built a boarding school facility for them, and put a foundation for them to get a scholarship. I always say this, when you have certain people who would not be stereotype of individual who want to do something great, instead of uplifting those people, oh, he's corny, he's lame, he's this and that. And we from outside the country look at it like, are you guys stupid? This man put his money in there so you could get better education. Last I checked, the public school education should have gone down for past 50, 60 years. They may want to make sure you get on the same playing ground with other folks. I'm in the IT field. There's not a lot of us in there with that more. The problem is, it goes to the Middle Eastern and Asian. I push for STEM because you know why? You don't have to do computing. You could be construction. It could be electronic. It could be welding. Anything that allowed to build the infrastructure of our people and our country and our culture, it is needed. But we don't put for that. What we put for, be the next Cardi B, be the next Jay-Z, which is ridiculous. But you don't realize these things are needed for a specific reason. I'm not going to look at anyone who took a negative route to make their money and they come back and do something better. I get, as long as you want to change it, make the change. Don't just keep quiet about it. Our problem is we have people who got the money, like you said, walk away, but we still put money in their pocket anyway. If that's the case, stop deploying the garbage. Stop putting money in their pocket. Put money somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like the stock market. When you invest your money in, if you don't get back out of there, that's just your fault. Last I checked, I haven't spent no money on no rap media for the past 20 years. Why? It wasn't worth it. I haven't spent money on no R&B because it wasn't worth it. It's like an investment.
Final thoughts going because I got to get out of here.
Let me get out of here and get back to work.
This is supposed to be a question, but I'm going to get your final thoughts on it.
No
Everybody,
problem.
1 minute or less. We're going to start with Enter Black Dragon. Will the good girl image ever become desirable again? I'm going to actually go first. I am so disgusted by what I see on IG. I am desensitized to cheeks. I'm desensitized to it. Like, I'm not joking. This is not a joke. Listen, I liken this to the first time a girl ever took off her bra. I'm a top. I like the top better, right? So that's what I was trying to do. First girl, like, let's do this. I'm like, yes, please get this shirt off. When those things came out, the session was already, I was like, woo! Oh my, yes, woo. I don't feel that way no more, and I don't think the young boys feel that way anymore. They see all of that. They see all of it. So I think for some reason, my wife, this must be a Panamanian thing or Caribbean thing. Her people is always like, society is just going to correct itself. They have a lot of patience for stuff like this. And I think that's one of the ways it's going to correct itself. We see so much skin that men are just going to be like, damn. They're just going to start paying more attention and appreciating the women that want to keep their clothes on and still look good. The fact that women are so willing to take their clothes off lets me know being elegant and still sexy is an art form. And any woman that pulls that off successfully needs to be praised. If you can be elegant and sexy and not trashy, let's clap for him, fellas. Let's
Clap
for
it
him.
up, clap it
It
up,
is an
clap it up.
art form. EBD, you got it. You got it.
Let me go quickly.
All
Get
right,
out of here.
all right. So just real quick, there used to be a show, old school show in the '90s called Jenny Jones, and it talked about the very topic that we're talking about, like over-sexualized teens, that were 3 or 4s, but then they did some kind of makeover, and then they were conservative, and they still look good, but they were just nice and covered up, and still was able to show off the curves. But anyway. Will the good girl image, just answering the question, will the good girl image be desirable again? I think it will be. But I think it goes back to, like I was saying earlier, when we all, from all facets of different tribes, whether you're Jamaican or not, when we all have an establishment of a government on things that we can all get behind and agree to, such as a vision of where we are right now, where we were, where we are, and where we want to be. Like, I think that's when one of our image will be cleaned up once we maintain and have control over all of our activity.
So
let me be quick.
Hold on. Linda says, black men took good girls for granted, cheated, and abused them. What?
Hold on. Time out.
That is harsh.
We're not even going to go there. We're
Wait,
not.
hold on, yo.
I don't want.
Wait, that's a whole nother topic, Trick Mike. Let's don't go there.
It's a whole other
That's a whole
show.
nother topic.
See that? Save it for the next show or something. That's we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Let me get my final thought. We need to get back to the old way of analyzing those who are conservative, who are moderate, because just like Sugar Mike, my wife is from Trinidad. I got a Caribbean wife. She's not an African for either. But like you said, in that island, they love the carnival. They love to show too much skin, and when it get too much, it get like numb. You seen it all. What's next? So if you can ally the woman who keep herself modest in a very fashionable state, I mean fashionable, okay, you to work in a church. I'll keep women with those tight fitted clothing, and you having people breaking neck, wearing neck braces after that. Let's stop that. Yeah, I know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, we all know what you know how much ass you look at in church? You just
I was the usher, so I know.
all right, yeah. Go ahead.
I had to save the young boy, had to cover their eye, like, yo, focus. It was like, I am focused. No, not that type of focus. So let's keep it real.
See what these Christians be doing in church? Yeah,
wait, hold on, Fed.
Let me tell you, what's worse is the women. It's not even the men looking; it's the women looking and giving her the stank face. Like, why you switching like that? Walking to your damn seat. The women be like, "You stank hoe!" Like, you just see their face like.
The typical African church with a typical African pastor would stop the sermon, tell the deacon to get the blanket, cover her, and put her at the back. Today, black church, you don't do that. You just let them come in. So that's a whole different conversation. What I'm saying right now, we need to get back to our former root, where modesty was the best thing, and trade for education. Those two things is needed. Other than that, I know Trey shaking the head is not going to happen. Do it in a tribe. You don't have to do it in the collective. Go your own tribe and start from like Antar, burning down. I got to agree with him. And I'm a Nigerian too.
Israel.
Yeah, so this is the thing, right? It's the funniest thing in the world. I think that what's gonna happen is next, it's gonna be very, very conservative. It's gonna be very, very prudish. It's gonna be very, very rule-centric. That's just how the world works. The world is a circle. things come, what goes around comes around. There's nothing new under the sun. So these times are very loose times, are very free times. So, God, the creator, whatever you believe in, is going to bring something to bring balance in to the world. And then people are going to go back. Women are going to go back to be very conservative, very modest, very covered. It's just what's going to happen. It's just this dispensation of time for right now, and it's what it is. And eventually things do correct themselves. And unfortunately, it seems as if they overcorrect themselves. It goes far to the other end of the spectrum.
You know what? I keep saying, I'll be like, yo, black men especially, since so many of them were raised by single mothers, they're more agreeable to all this feminism stuff than any man on earth. But I was like, they keep pushing. You got a white man's attention now. We wanted y'all to just chill, my lady, we could do this thing together like black people in America have always done. The white man gonna put women back in the kitchen. On God, I swear he will.
But this is another thing, Trigger Mike. I wanted to say
they're gonna overcorrect this.
This is the last because we seen it in real time, right? So in our time, we seen women go from little to no rights to it seems like women have all the rights. We seen the LBGYN community not have any kind of say so to seemingly having all the say so. Like this is the way of that things work. They kind of overcorrect themselves. But to your point earlier, I said the exact same thing about being desensitized. There's no way I could be a simp because I don't care enough. You know what I'm saying? About what a woman looks like because I've seen everything. There's nothing I haven't seen. You know what I'm saying? They show it all for free. So it's not like it's anything special or anything coveted or anything to desire for real.
Yeah, it's like that song. Would you me for free? The answer is yes, she will. Sparkle.
I think that since the 1960s, all the way up until now, this hypersexualization has gone so crazy that now it's almost inevitable that it's going to become fashionable again. I think things have got a bit too depraved, you've now got striptease and drag acts at schools now. It's getting a bit crazy. I think what's going to happen now is that a woman's modesty is gonna present that level of mystery that makes her sexy and attractive to guys. I think, like you say, you guys have seen everything from a woman's outward appearance to the woman's innards, and it's now at the point where you're like, leave something to the imagination a little bit, to the point where it attracts a guy. And I do think that people have a romantic view of what it used to be like when a woman trying to be sexy was dropping a handkerchief and it was really subtle and you had to do a bit of chasing. I think it's coming back to that slowly. But I think that's as a reaction to the hypersexualization that we've seen for the past 50, 60, 70 years.
All right. I got to speed it up a little bit. My bad. Trey, 30 seconds.
Yeah, quickly. I don't know who's teaching these girls the good girl image. Who's teaching them? Where they at? Where are these women to teach them the good girl image? Because they weren't good girls. And their mamas wasn't good girls. So I don't know how you teach a group of people something that nobody knows has any idea on how to do it.
Damn. Mic drop.
My mama was a good girl.
Ow. Ow. In your face. Go ahead, Fantasy Island. You got anything else?
Yes, I agree that it's cyclical. I definitely wanted to state, like Israel pointed out, we usually overcorrect. So right now we're overrun with sex on Twitter and everywhere else. You can see pretty much everything you can see on the hub on Twitter for free. So I think a lot of people are becoming desensitized. And then the curiosity killed the cat kind of phrase, I think, is what's going to make men more interested in the girls that aren't showing everything. They're just so curious. Like I can speak from experience very quickly. I wasn't posting anything on social media. I was one of those lurkers that just watch and I posted finally randomly in 2020. I started posting when I was on vacation, And it was like a floodgate of people interested in seeing like, oh, wow, I haven't seen her since high school. Wow, she's doing well. Oh, she looks happy. She looks healthy. She looks fine. It's like they were very interested in seeing where I was and what I was up to. And I wasn't showing everything to the world. So I think just moderation is key.
Indeed. King Spark, 30 seconds.
Yes, sir. Well, the good girl image is very desirable right now, today, but it's only desirable with the dudes that know a little something, the OGs, the people that still have that old school class and quality. Now, will it ever be mainstream desirable? I doubt it. Because you got to admit, America was built on sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
I feel like you just gave us a public service announcement. Coco.
Yeah. So when they say hoes be winning, no, they don't in the long run. They
Not in
really
the long.
don't. Not in the long run. So a good girl has always been desirable. It may not be what is pushed in media, but again, media is about consuming and consumerism, instant gratification, not long term edification. So yeah, maybe in the short term, but not in the long term. I think the good girl, at ultimately in the end, people who have sense want the good girl.
Oh, of course. Always. Mr. Moore, take us out.
Yeah, I think that the good girl image is obviously ideal. That's like the better, obviously. But the media is the complete opposite. The media is going to continue to push the exact opposite. And I think that a lot of women are going to continue to see the value in being the opposite and going to continue to agree with that type of lifestyle, or at the very least, the promotion of that type of lifestyle. So the good girl is she'll never go out of style. That's always going to be the better option. But for every one man who is like, yeah, I want the good girl, I want the good girl, there's 100 men who are careless and would prefer the complete opposite. And I think that the validation of the bad girl image is going to continue to grow. I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's going to continue to grow, and that the technology is going to continue to take advantage of the loose morals of men and women, and that's the problem.
All right. I want to thank the panel today for coming up and chopping it up with me. See y'all on Monday. It's been another great Trigger Mike show. Thank y'all for tuning in on this topic. Sure, we might even come in later on my channel on the rest of it because this was a good one. All right. Everybody, please go over to the Lapeef Experience channel. Tonight we have the Chic Critique. Go over there and hit the subscribe button on the Lapeef Experience channel. Hit the like button before you leave out of this broadcast today. Also, go over to my channel, type in Trigger or at Trigger Mike Show, all one word, and you'll see my channel come up. I'm trying to get to 1,000, almost there, 39 more people. So go ahead to my channel and get me all the way up there. It is at Trigger Mike Show on YouTube. And subscribe to my channel as well. We'll be doing shorts, and I'll start doing some weekend lives for y'all as well. I appreciate y'all. Remember, we got the Chic Critique tonight, another great topic. I will be on that show as well if you are a Trigger Mike fan and want to come chop it up with me in the chat. All right, y'all. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Spend time with family. The club ain't going nowhere. Brunch ain't going nowhere. Them people don't even like you for real. All right. Be easy. See y'all next time.